Chapter 1407. On the screen, the golden claw god Luofeng was able to dodge the stone hand in mid-air. He was still able to toy with the dark red stone giant. Even at the start, he was able to prevent the countless beams of light from touching him. However, as the ancient engravings continued to descend, the distance was getting shorter. This made it harder for Luofeng. Occasionally he would be touched. Annihilation, God Energy Ignition First Level. Luofeng finally couldn't take it anymore. Haha, this soldier he has finally unleashed his God Energy Ignition technique. He's really patient, waiting until now before unleashing it. As a special army soldier, one of the basic inheritances has a level 1 God Energy Ignition technique. He should know it. The 4 leaders looked at the screen and laughed. The moment he unleashed his God Energy, Luofeng's attack, defense, speed and dodging etc. immediately rose by a level. He was struggling before, but in an instant, he became relaxed. In mid-air, simultaneously dealing with the stone hands, dark red stone giant and countless beams of light. Effortlessly, after a few more minutes, the ancient engravings descended lower and lower, even forcing Luofeng to fly, forcing him to descend. He couldn't stick to the ancient engravings. The moment he did, he wouldn't be able to dodge the beams of light. This soldier the second level doesn't pose a threat to him. Even though the second level's final moments will make him suffer, his god body hasn't been consumed at all, it doesn't affect him at all. The leaders said so. Second level of the awakened Wu building, within the 9 little world. It's still not over? The dark red armored youth was fleeing. The ancient engravings had already descended to a mere 1 million kilometers from the ground. Such a low altitude made it impossible to fly too high. The moment the stone hands emerged from the cracks in the ground, they could easily envelop the armored youth. Ping ping ping, at such a close distance, the beams of light bombarded him. The armored youth didn't care at all, because at this point, there was no way to dodge. He focused on what was below. Hua! The moment the stone hands appeared, the armored youth immediately dodged. No! The armored youth tried his best to evade, but he discovered that his speed was not fast enough. The million-kilometer-wide palm had only partially emerged from the cracks on the ground before grabbing him. I've lost too much of my divine body, and my strength has dropped too much. Even if I use all my strength to dodge, I won't be able to. The armored youth's heart was filled with sorrow. At the same time, he tried his best to control his weapon to attack the stone hand from the inside. Roar! The dark red stone giant instantly charged forward, slapping the armored youth repeatedly. In the blink of an eye, he was slapped more than 20 times. Whoosh! Xiao Chen finally managed to escape from the giant stone hand. He flew away, but there were streaks of light coming at him from the sky. I can't take it anymore. The armored youth felt his divine body weakening faster and faster. Pung! A huge rock hand had just emerged from the crack in the ground. Before it could grab the armored youth was bombarded and annihilated by the stream of light. Only some battle armor, mechanical treasures, and other things fell to the ground. Another soldier had fallen. About half a minute after the armored youth fell. Boom! 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 The small worlds of the 3 surviving soldiers instantly dissipated. The stone giant also turned into a crimson liquid and flowed into the crack in the ground. Everything dissipated. The 3 surviving soldiers were extremely astonished. Ha! I'm still alive. I'm still alive. I've lost all hope. It's over. Haha, it's finally over. Just a moment more and I'll be finished. It's over. The 3 surviving soldiers cried and laughed at the same time. They had truly endured all kinds of torture. They had endured with great difficulty. In the end, the strongest of the 3 was not even 1/10 of their original strength. The weakest was not even 1,000th of their original strength. Just a moment more, and they would have fallen. They survived with great difficulty. These 3 soldiers quickly recovered from their joy and excitement. What should we do? Our divine body is so weak, so weak. This is only the 2nd floor of the Wuqi building. There's still the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floor. How can we survive? Right, our strength is already so weak. The 3 soldiers were extremely worried. We are weak, the other soldiers are too. That'll be fair. Who knows, the Wuqi building might even provide treasures to help us recover. What do you mean the other soldiers are weak? Look, that Python River soldier is still able to suppress the dark red stone giant. As one soldier pointed into the distance, the other 2 looked too. Indeed, within Luo Feng's group of 5 soldiers, there were only a few. Especially Luo Feng. Up until now, his strength was at its peak. Especially after he ignited the 1st level of his god energy, he could even suppress the dark red stone giant. He often used the dark red stone giant as a shield. Not only did he use it to block the light, he even used it to block the stone hands. He's actually this strong. The 3 surviving soldiers sighed. Suddenly, hua, hua, hua. 3 beams of light suddenly descended and enveloped the 3 surviving soldiers. In an instant, the 3 soldiers disappeared. They went to the 3rd floor of the Wuqi building? Luo Feng scanned the area. 2 of the 5 from before died, the other 3's powers have all fallen to an extremely low level. I think our batch is about the same. As the ancient engravings continued to descend, Luo Feng and his batch were met with worse and worse situations. Finally, some soldiers fell. After a while, it ended. Luo Feng and his batch too had 3 surviving soldiers. We survived. Haha, we survived. The other 2 soldiers were overjoyed. However, when they saw Luo Feng, they instinctively dodged far away. Luo Feng glanced and his gaze landed on the tall and skinny Su Zhong. He laughed softly. Your luck is not bad, you're still alive. Su Zhong was filled with fear and regret. He understood that this terrifying soldier he was holding a grudge. Hua, hua, hua. 3 beams of light descended and enveloped Luo Feng and the other 2. They immediately vanished. The 3rd floor of the Wuqi building was a vast grassland. As Luo Feng and the other 2 appeared. The 4th batch is here. The 4th batch is the same as the 3rd, they both survived. Many voices resounded. The moment Luo Feng appeared, he scanned his surroundings. In the distance there were many silhouettes. Some were soldiers, some were beasts, there were quite a lot of them. With a glance in the vast grassland, including himself, there were a total of 11 soldiers. 11 soldiers? Luo Feng thought, the 3rd batch and our 4th batch have 6 survivors. Looks like the other 5 are from the 1st and 2nd batches. The 3rd floor of the Wuqi building actually allowed all the soldiers to gather? Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng carefully observed the surrounding soldiers. Immediately, the 3rd and 4th batches of survivors were so scared that their faces changed. They all teleported far away to avoid the attack, and then sealed the surrounding area with spatial fluctuations. The 1st and 2nd batches of survivors were all shocked. They weren't idiots. They could all tell that with just one glance from the Mang River soldier, the 3rd and 4th batches of survivors were scared to the point of hiding far away. Obviously their strengths weren't on the same level. We'll hide far away too. The 3rd and 4th batches are all the same. This Mang River soldier is definitely terrifying. Even though the 1st and 2nd batches of survivors didn't know how terrifying Luo Feng was, they were cautious and all teleported far away, sealing the space around them. This scene made Luo Feng shake his head and laugh. Time passed, day after day passed. On the 6th day, another batch of soldiers arrived. There were a total of 2 survivors. After a while, the 6th batch arrived too. There were a total of 3 survivors. In the blink of an eye, close to 2 months had passed. A total of 38 soldiers had already gathered on the grassy plains on the 3rd floor of the Awakening Crow Tower. Some of the new soldiers knew some of the soldiers from the previous 4 batches and knew how terrifying the Python River Army soldiers were. Many of them similarly stayed far away. However, they were still confident and didn't hide. A single tribal warrior has already scared you all this much. A huge plant life form was blooming, its entire body was covered in bright flowers. The largest flower had eyes and a mouth, it said with disdain. Before I joined the army, I've killed over 10,000 tribal warriors. Saying that, the plant life form looked at Luo Feng with a taunting gaze. Your god body is close to 100 million km tall. With such a huge body, we're not afraid. The distant soldiers said. The surrounding taunts and fear. Luo Feng ignored them all. He just stood there. Finally, as 2 more soldiers arrived, the grassland world on the 3rd floor of the Wu Qi Tower finally showed signs of activity. Rumble, in the air above the grassland, a huge ripple-like whirlpool suddenly appeared. The surviving 40 soldiers all looked up into the sky. Space rippled like a ripple. Luo Feng and the 40 soldiers, no matter where they were immediately teleported below the huge whirlpool. Hua! 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 The whirlpool in the air suddenly released beams of light. It directly surrounded a large area of the grassland with a diameter of about 1 billion kilometers, completely isolating this large area from the outside world. The whirlpool above too reached 1 billion kilometers in diameter. Hua, in the middle of the whirlpool in the air, a huge eye suddenly appeared. This huge eye gazed downwards, causing everyone below including Luo Feng to feel their souls freeze. Awakened building. An old voice resounded within every soldier's mind. The first 3 levels are filled with life and death danger. As long as you survive the first 3 levels, there will be no more danger. From the 4th level onwards, there will be many inheritances, rewards, etc. The higher you go, the greater the rewards. The old voice said, of course, you have to survive the 3rd level. The first chapter of the 5th. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1408. The huge god eye in mid-air gazed down at the 40 soldiers below. The ancient voice continued to resound within their minds. You 40 soldiers, according to the strength you displayed in the first 2 levels, in this 3rd level, only 15 of you will survive. The 15 that survive will be able to enter the 4th level and gain many benefit. Before you make it through the 3rd level, you are forbidden from entering the battleships, otherwise, you will fail and die. The ancient voice's words shocked Luo Feng. There were actually only 15 people left? Immediately the 40 soldiers were worried within. To be able to make it to the 3rd level, they were all extraordinary, yet another half had to die. Other than a few like Luo Feng, the others didn't even dare say they would survive. Rumble! Rumble! Suddenly 2 explosions rang out. Huge branches and leaves spread out. The long branches and leaves glowed with dazzling golden light. They continuously whipped a tribal soldier, causing that poor soldier, who had less than 1% of his strength, to be whipped into nothingness. What? It killed the soldier. The other survivors looked over in shock. Luo Feng too looked over. The one that attacked was the plant life soldier. One of its flowers let out a laugh. Wu Qi Lu said only 15 can survive, however he didn't forbid us from killing. Killing 1 more means 1 less opponent. Haha, die. One had to know that after going through the 2nd level's little world torture, most of the soldiers were still heavily injured. The weakest had less than 1/1000 of their peak strength. Flee. Careful. Go. The soldiers who thought they were heavily injured all began to flee in all directions, trying their best to maintain their distance from the stronger soldiers. However, the god eye in mid-air had a 1 billion kilometers area of light. There was no way to escape. No matter how they fled, they had to stay within this area, within the god eye area. It was a mess. Luo Feng stood there, ignoring his surroundings. Not a single soldier dared to deal with him. Even the most arrogant plant-life soldier didn't deal with Luo Feng. Rumble, the huge god eye in mid-air suddenly lit up. beams of gold light emanated downwards. Ah! Some of the soldiers who were still fighting suddenly felt their souls, life imprints, being attacked. Many of them temporarily stopped fighting and carefully resisted. No one knew how dangerous the third floor was. If it was a terrifying danger, then they would be courting death if they were to split their attention to fight. In just a short period of time, 3 of the 40 soldiers had fallen. They had all been heavily injured on the second floor and had just been trampled to death. Even their mechanical treasures, armors, and weapons had been taken away. Luckily the Milky Way didn't move. Su Zhong glanced at Luo Feng from afar and looked up at the god eye in the sky. The soldiers all looked up at the god's eye. The divine eyes released endless golden light that enveloped the area below. The powerful willpower was something that all of the soldiers could endure. What exactly are the dangers of the third level? Just this divine eye? In the beginning, the second floor only had mystical patterns. Later on, stone giants appeared and so on. Who knows, there might be some strange dangers on the third floor. The soldiers all felt uneasy, to the extent where some of them even flew into the air, not daring to get close to the ground in case something suddenly popped up. Endless golden light shone down on the grass plains and every single soldier. Its power was gradually rising. The willpower attack is getting stronger. Don't tell me this third floor is a test of willpower. The soldiers all resisted, no one was willing to give up so easily. After all, they all knew that the third floor was the last floor with the danger of death. The fourth floor onwards had many rewards, who wouldn't risk it? Luo Feng withstood the willpower attack and exclaimed to himself. No wonder the heavily injured soldiers didn't receive any treatment. It was a test of willpower. Even with the loss of the divine body, the impact on his battle strength was huge. However, the impact on his willpower was small. The willpower attack is slowly increasing. Luo Feng turned to look at the distant chinchilla form Su Zhong. This bit of willpower attack has no effect on me at all. While the willpower attack is still weak, I'll first kill him. So, Luo Feng's speed immediately rose and he flew towards the distant Su Zhong. Su Zhong was withstanding the willpower attack, simultaneously carefully observing his surroundings. Even though he had the chinchilla's ability to flee, back in the second floor, his chinchilla's ability to fight and kill was much weaker. Hence, he was heavily injured in the second floor. Even after entering the second floor and waiting for some time to recover, he only recovered about 50% of his divine body. His strength was only left with 10% of his original strength. Of course he had to be careful. Su Zhong immediately noticed a beam of light flying towards him from the distance. Inhe. Su Zhong was shocked. He was afraid of this Inhe. So, Su Zhong became a huge white bird and flew at high speed. Simultaneously, he communicated, Inhe, we're both from the Eastern Army, why chase after me? If I don't kill you, who will I kill? Luo Feng communicated coldly. Su Zhong immediately felt bitter within. Back in the first floor, he had suddenly attacked Luo Feng. Back then, he had told Luo Feng that he was a new recruit. If I don't kill you, who will I kill? Now the situation had suddenly reversed. Inhe, as long as you don't kill me, I'm willing to give you a mechanical treasure as compensation. Su Zhong communicated anxiously. Humph. Luo Feng's reply was a cold snort. Entering this Wu Qi building, Luo Feng was actually too lazy to start a massacre. It was just that Su Zhong was the type he hated the most, intentionally befriending and treating him like a brother, only to suddenly kill him from behind. Just like back when Luo Feng was still a small fry, he was ambushed and killed by his companion Mo Luo in Demon Note Mountain. Since then, Luo Feng hated this type of person to the extreme. Su Zhong? Naturally he had to kill him. Luo Feng chased, Su Zhong fled. Su Zhong became a huge white bird. Even though he only had 10% of his original strength, his flying speed was still faster than Luo Feng's. Ignite! Luo Feng's thoughts moved. Unleashing the first scroll of annihilation, the golden claw god Luo Feng's speed immediately soared. One had to know that Luo Feng had the Wu killer wings. His flying speed was already his forte. Even though he didn't bring it in the gene world, he had carefully studied it during the 8 million eras. He had also studied the Wu killer wings and many other techniques, and the flowing gold technique had the ability to increase his speed. Hua! Luo Feng's speed continued to rise explosively. In he. Su Zhong looked back in panic. Tell me, what will it take for you to let me go? If you die naturally, I'll let you go. Luo Feng communicated coldly. The two of them, one in front and one behind, their speed was terrifying. Even the light domain of this god I didn't cover more than 1 billion kilometers. With their current speed, they didn't even need 1 second to traverse the entire domain. Hence Su Zhong had been flying in an arc, twisting and turning with all his might. Luo Feng chased for half a minute and still couldn't catch up. Maybe it was because he was facing death. Su Zhong was giving it his all. Or maybe it was because the Qinbird was really good at flying. If I unleash the second level of annihilation, I can instantly catch you. Luo Feng shook his head. In the 9 Smoke Swamp, he dared unleash the second level because it wasn't within the army's control. But in Wu Qi Tower, it was clear that all his actions were being monitored. Naturally, he did not dare to execute the second level of annihilation. Let's see how long you can last. Luo Feng continued to chase. Su Zhong didn't dare relax at all. Su Zhong was incomparably bitter, angry and regretful. Time continued to pass. The god eye in mid-air emitted a golden light and the willpower within was constantly getting stronger and stronger. From the start, everyone could easily withstand it. But now, some of the soldiers were finding it hard to withstand it. This willpower attack has already reached the limit of an overlord. Some of the soldiers were in extreme pain. Even though they were elites, in terms of willpower, most of them had broken through the bottleneck and reached the true god level. There were still a few that were weaker. Kill. While withstanding the willpower attack, the soldiers were still fighting and killing. Especially those that felt their willpower wasn't strong enough, they were fighting with all their might. Killing one means one less opponent. As long as there are 15 left, it'll be over. Kill. The sky and land were dark. The 30 soldiers all became beams of light and flew at high speeds, occasionally crossing each other. In such a desperate battle, they still had to defend against the willpower attack. If they weren't careful and got distracted, they could easily get hit. A few of the weaker soldiers who were slow in escaping began to fall. Their numbers began to decrease. As the willpower attack from the god eye in mid-air grew stronger, the soldiers were terrified. Before, they were fighting and killing each other, the willpower attack was only a small threat. However, at this time, the willpower attack began to slowly exceed the limits of the soldiers. No! As the willpower attack exceeded the limits of an overlord. Rumble! There were a total of 9 soldiers who were flying, dodging, and fighting at high speed. Their bodies trembled, and they instantly fell into a state of unconsciousness. It was obvious that they could not withstand the impact of the will. Meanwhile, the god's eye in the sky instantly shot out 9 beams of dazzling purple light. Shwa! 9 rays of purple light instantly attacked the 9 soldiers who had fainted and fallen, causing them to be annihilated, leaving behind only some armor, mechanical treasures, and so on. Luo Feng, who was chasing Su Zhong and flying at high speed, happened to pass by. With a wave of his hand, he collected the treasures left behind by one of the soldiers. There are quite a lot of treasures. Luo Feng looked around. This 3rd level of the Awakened Crow building is a chance to get large amounts of treasures. If I miss this chance, I don't know when I'll get another one. Every soldier was like a small treasure vault, and almost every soldier had at least 2 mechanical treasures. After all, they had all survived the first and second levels. In the distance, Su Zhong, who was trying his best to escape. I want to escape, I want to escape, I can't die. Ah, this willpower attack is too strong, I can't take it anymore. Wang, the god eye shone on the grass plain, on every soldier, the willpower attack within the golden light. Even though it was slow, it was getting stronger and stronger. If one couldn't take it, they would die. Only 15 would survive. Today, the second watch of the 5th. The monthly votes have fallen behind? My tears, brothers, are there no more monthly votes? To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1409. The god eye in mid-air emitted a willpower attack that was getting stronger and stronger, making it harder for the soldiers to defend. No. Su Zhong felt the heavy attack, his willpower was getting blurry and blurry. Wake up, wake up. He looked behind him. The golden claw god that had become a black light was still chasing, not slowing down at all. Wake up, wake up. Su Zhong was extremely anxious, but the willpower attack was getting stronger, causing him to show signs of collapsing. Inhe. I was wrong, spare me, spare me. Su Zhong communicated at the last moment, because of the willpower attack. His flight path wasn't perfect anymore. Hua. Behind, the completely black golden claw god Luo Feng howled and chased. Die! Luo Feng clawed coldly, one claw smashing the white bird down. Rumble, the white bird landed on the grass plains. Luo Feng landed beside it. Luo Feng looked at the white bird that seemed to have lost consciousness on the grass plains, Chin bird. In the distance, the other soldiers fighting looked over. They all knew that the soldier lying there was obviously about to collapse and fall unconscious. Very soon he would be destroyed by the god eye, leaving behind treasures. However, looking at the golden claw god Luo Feng standing beside, none of them dared to snatch the food from the tiger's mouth. Shua. A purple light shot out from the divine eye and landed directly on the big white bird, Chinchilla. Immediately, the Su Bell under the protection of the mechanical treasure was annihilated, leaving only some armor, space bracelets, mechanical treasures, and so on. Luo Feng waved his hand and kept it, after which he leaped up, becoming a beam of light and rushing towards the soldiers fighting. The number of soldiers was decreasing. 28. 26. 23. The soldiers fell one by one. They were either killed by the divine eyes or by other soldiers. Get lost! His voice was like thunder, rumbling over. The golden claw god Luo Feng became a beam of light and rushed towards the treasure left behind by a soldier killed by the god eye. It's that soldier Inhe! It's that soldier Inhe! The 3 soldiers that were rushing towards the treasure saw that it was Luo Feng and immediately changed directions, drawing an arc and escaping. If they were close to the treasure, they might be able to obtain it. However, they were far away from the treasure. Even if they could obtain it first, Inhe would probably catch up to them. That would be a nightmare. Within this group of soldiers, the ones with the most treasures were 2, one was Luo Feng, the other was the plant life soldier. Strictly speaking, the plant soldiers had obtained more treasures. One had to understand that the entire light realm only had a diameter of 1 billion kilometers, while the plant life soldier was close to 100 million kilometers in height. When those branches and leaves spread out, they covered an extremely large area. It naturally relied on this advantage to obtain many treasures. No! I can't accept this. Die. Die. Hurry up and die. The plant soldier's most beautiful flower screamed in agony. It was indeed powerful. However, the willpower attacks from the god eye in the sky made it harder and harder for it to fight. As a plant life, it had a huge advantage in battle. Hence it was lacking in terms of willpower training. Even though its willpower had reached the true god level, however, amongst this group of elite soldiers, it could only be ranked in the middle. No. The plant life soldier felt that it couldn't hold on much longer. Its willpower was about to crumble. It's about to die. It can't hold on any longer. The other soldiers in the distance all looked over. They all avoided it and watched from afar, their eyes filled with greed. As they all knew that this plant-life soldier had the most mechanical treasures, this made them all want to get their hands on it. Luo Feng floated in mid-air and watched from afar. No. Die, all of you, hurry up and die. Die. The plant-life soldier roared and wantonly waved its branches and leaves in a frenzy. Each of its branches and leaves flowed with streaks of golden light, sweeping through the surroundings in an attempt to kill even more soldiers. However, every single soldier avoided it, staying far away from it. And the soldiers that were still alive, their losses were much smaller. Even if they were trapped by the plant-life soldier, they wouldn't die within a short period of time. No, following a mournful roar. Those wantonly waving vine leaves all fell powerlessly from the sky. Obviously they had lost their consciousness. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. He immediately became a beam of light, his speed swiftly rising as he rushed towards the plant-life soldier. So. The soldiers all rushed over at the same time, all of them thirsting for large amounts of mechanical treasures. Even if they couldn't use them, they could still exchange them for points, after which they would use their huge amounts of points to exchange for something suitable for themselves. The icy violet light descended and landed on the plant-life form, instantly destroying it and turning it into nothingness, leaving behind a pile of treasures. It's mine. A strange beast soldier with a pair of wings and a triangular head flew over like a bolt of lightning. Amongst the many soldiers rushing over, it was the fastest. Who? It whizzed past the grassland and instantly collected all the treasures left on the grassland. Courting death. An angry roar resounded. The flying beast soldier looked into the distance, laughing as he communicated, "Soldier He, in terms of strength, I can't compare to you. However, in terms of flying speed, I'm not afraid of you." Rumble. Luo Feng flew over. Is that so? The originally pitch-black golden claw god Luo Feng immediately changed. The golden claw god vanished and Luo Feng actually became a silver-white flying beast, Chinbird. Chinbird. The flying beast soldier was shocked. Chinbird Luo Feng's speed instantly rose, obviously exceeding the flying beast soldier by a large margin, immediately catching up. Luo Feng's eyes were filled with coldness. What a joke! After Su Zhong died and he obtained the Chinbird, he already had the intention to wantonly obtain large amounts of treasures in the third level. Naturally, he immediately sent the Chinbird into the tomb boat for the golden horned beast to experiment on. The golden horned beast was in the training space of the inheritance space with 10,000 times time acceleration, studying the Chinbird. Even though it took more than a day in the training space to fully comprehend the Chinbird's technique. However, only less than 10 seconds had passed in the outside world. How can this be? The flying beast soldier was anxious. For a new mechanical treasure to be able to be used optimally, just studying it would normally take a long time. This soldier he had just obtained the Chinbird, how could he use it so quickly? How would he know Luo Feng was already extremely accomplished in his techniques, and with 10,000 times time acceleration, how could he not be fast? Everyone says you're powerful, I don't believe an overlord like you can be much stronger than me. The flying beast soldier roared. Get down. The chinchilla caught up in an instant. Its huge wings turned into a stream of light as it displayed the light of water and fire saber technique, slashing directly on the flying beast soldier. The flying beast soldier was directly smashed to the grassland below, creating a large pit in the grassland. While descending, Luo Feng, who was originally a silver-white bird, immediately became the golden claw god. After all, in terms of attack, the golden claw god was stronger. Die. The golden claw god madly circled around the flying beast soldier. In an instant, the glaring golden claw silhouettes were like a huge wave, immediately engulfing the flying beast soldier. How? The flying beast soldier wanted to resist. However, the moment Luo Feng got close to him, along with his strength advantage, the flying beast soldier couldn't even escape. Rumble, endless blade lights swept down. The flying beast soldier, who had already lost a lot of his strength in the second level of the awakening building, was even more ravaged to the point where he couldn't even retaliate. In just 30 seconds, the flying beast soldier was destroyed. Humph! Luo Feng immediately kept the treasure. Indeed, an elite soldier, even with heavy injuries, he still lasted longer than that nine-smoke swamp true god. In the distance, the other soldiers were shocked as they watched. In a short 30 seconds, a powerful elite soldier couldn't even escape and was killed immediately. Fear. Fear. All sorts of emotions rose up within. This was the first time Luo Feng had truly killed a soldier on the third level. The Su Zhong before was killed by the god Eye. This display of power also allowed the other soldiers to understand just how wise it was to be cautious and evasive earlier. Wang, the god Eye in mid-air emitted endless golden light. The willpower attacks were getting stronger and stronger. Ah! Only 15 can live. Especially the soldiers who felt the willpower attacks pushing them to their limits, they became even more frenzied, fighting with all their might. Their numbers continued to decrease. 20 digits, 18 digits, 16 digits, until 15. When there were only 15 soldiers left in the entire area illuminated by the god Eye, the willpower attacks had already reached the pinnacle of true god level, close to the limits of true god. Other than Luo Feng, the other 14 soldiers were all extremely tired. 8 million eras of time. Luo Feng gazed at the distant soldiers, exclaiming within. Willpower attacks? Even a willpower attack close to the limits of true god wasn't even worth mentioning to him. Back when he acquired the Duandong River inheritance, he had already reached the true god level willpower. And over the long years with the inheritance space to train himself, the inheritance space was a perfect training ground for the absolute warriors. Within the inheritance space, he could naturally train his willpower. Maintaining the 10,000 times time acceleration to train his willpower to Luo Feng, this was an unprecedented 8 million eras of time, causing his willpower to break through from the true god level to an even higher level. According to Luo Feng's guess, his willpower should be at the void true god level. Void true god willpower was more common among true gods. Even in the Universe Sea, there were a few true gods that reached this level. Much less in the Gene world. And Universe Lords, those that reached the void true god level willpower, were very few. I have the inheritance space in my hands. If I still can't break through, then I'll be the joke of the Duandong River. Luo Feng thought the inheritors of the Duandong River, during the Universe Lord level, could easily reach the void true god level willpower. Hua, hua, hua. The god Eye in mid-air vanished into nothingness. At the same time 15 beams of light descended, enveloping Luo Feng and the other 15 soldiers, causing them to vanish from the third level. Today was the third of 5. Continue to fight. Continue to summon monthly votes. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1410. Divine King Valley, beside the towering Wu Chi's building, within the Silver Palace. On the 4 thrones of the palace sat 4 commanders. They were looking at the floating light screen which showed everything that happened in the Wu Chi's building. Haha, he easily passed the third level. From what I see, for soldier Een he to be so relaxed, his willpower should have reached void real god level. An overlord with willpower at void real god level, this soldier Een he is not bad. A compliment came from the black mist. The silver-armored female commander said, "Look at how he uses the golden claw god's blade technique. It's so exquisite that it's at least a beginner real god level. This soldier's movement technique, blade technique, willpower, everything is top-notch. He's the strongest I've seen since I became a commander." The tall and sturdy commander looked at the light screen solemnly. I wonder if he can reach the top of the Wu Chi's building. If we can reach the top, then we won't have let His Majesty down." The other three commanders were silent. His Majesty's expectations? They looked at the light screen which showed the scene on the 4th level of the Wu Chi's building. The 4th level is a reward. I wonder what reward soldier he will choose. Asterisk 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 4th level of the Wu Chi's building. The surviving 15 soldiers were filled with anticipation. According to what Wu Chi's building had told them, only the first 3 levels of the Wu Chi's building had danger. From the 4th level onwards there were only rewards. Wu Chi's building's reward? What kind of reward is it? All the soldiers were filled with anticipation. Spacetime shook. The 15 soldiers were teleported to the 4th level. Luo Feng and the rest looked around. Luo Feng looked around. There were many tunnels extending out. On the 2 walls of each tunnel were large amounts of trees and corpses. It was as though countless lives and dead things were sealed on the walls. Maze? Luo Feng thought, there's a tunnel in front of me, to my left, to my right. The 15 soldiers looked around hesitantly. None of them dared to move as they waited for Wu Chi's building's guidance. Rays of light appeared in the surroundings and enveloped every soldier. Surviving soldiers, you are lucky because you have reached the 4th level of the Wu Chi's building. From this floor onwards, you will no longer be in danger. Soldiers are also prohibited from killing each other. If they violate this rule, they will be executed. Just the opening paragraph alone made the other soldiers heave a sigh of relief. They glanced at Luo Feng and weren't as cautious as before. There are many rewards on the 4th floor of the Wu Chi Tower. There are 4 paths around you, each representing a different reward. That passage that is faintly glowing with white light is a treasure passage. Once you enter, you will be able to obtain some treasures, such as mechanical weapons, treasures that can restore the divine body, and so on. That passageway that is faintly glowing with golden light is the inheritance passageway. It contains some special secret technique. If you are lucky, you might be able to obtain some extremely powerful secret techniques. That passageway that is faintly glowing with purple light is the path to becoming a true god. It will guide you on how to break through and become a true god. This is the path of the laws of true god. That passageway glowing with black light is also the path of a true god, but it's the path of divine power. Starting from divine power, one can become a true god. It's also 100 or 1,000 times more difficult. Of the 4 paths, you can only choose one. Your rewards from these paths will determine whether or not you can enter the 5th floor of the Wu Chi Tower. Make your choice, lucky soldiers. The ancient voice vanished. Luo Feng and the others all looked at the 4 paths around them. So they represented different rewards. The techniques within the Wu Chi Tower are definitely not normal. With special techniques, I'll be able to unleash even more power against warriors of the same level. I'll be able to display greater strength against experts of the same level. A black skeletal snake beast slithered directly into the passageway glowing with golden light. I've been stuck as an origin law lord for too long, I have to become a true god. The god force path is too difficult, even if I go, I'll probably fail. Another short and sturdy tribal soldier entered the purple passageway. The soldiers all made their choices. Some believed that the army had guidance on becoming a true god, hence they chose techniques or treasures. Some wanted to become a true god even earlier, hence they chose the path of a true god. However, out of the 15 soldiers, even though 8 chose the path of a true god, 6 of them chose the origin law path. After all, they all knew the origin law path was the most common and the easiest, the god force path was much harder. They hadn't even succeeded in the origin law path. Naturally, they didn't dare to be too ambitious. After all, this path was only a guide, it didn't mean they would succeed. God force path? I want to see what special guidance the godly emperor of this gene world has on the path of God energy. Luo Feng didn't hesitate at all, immediately choosing the path of God energy to become a true god. Treasures? His rewards this time were already huge. Luo Feng didn't believe that passing the third level would give him any powerful treasures. Techniques? He had many powerful techniques in the Dong-breaking river. Origin Law Path? He had given up on it long ago. Only the true God path. This was after all left behind by the godly emperor. Maybe it would be useful to him. The four commanders of the Divine King's Valley looked at the screen. Luo Feng and another soldier entered the path of the true God, which was glowing with black light, one after the other. They all sighed. Not bad. The only truly precious thing on the fourth floor of the Tower of Awakening Crow is this divine power pathway. This is where the godly emperor put his heart and soul into. This soldier, He, was chosen well. The leaders all sighed. The normal army warriors didn't know, however they were the leaders of the godly Emperor Valley. The Wu Qi building was handed over to them to protect, they naturally knew. Actually, the absolute people the godly emperor needed, it would be best if they followed the God Force path and became a true god. After all, to get a title, other than the titled mission, there was another way, as long as one fulfilled the requirements. 1. The God Force path and one's life force reached 90,000 times. 2. One had to solve all the 10081 Rhino Emperor games. This would immediately get a title and become the Wu Qi god. From these requirements one could see that the absolute people the godly emperor needed, it would be best if they followed the God Force path. Hence, when the Wu Qi building was first built, the fourth level had 4 paths. Only the God Force path was left behind by the godly emperor to help those who came later. Luo Feng walked along the pathway. On both sides of the walls, there were large amounts of sealed corpses or objects, almost like specimens. The God Force path? Where is it? Luo Feng carefully searched. Suddenly his pupils contracted, staring at the wall beside him. He was shocked to discover the seemingly simple countless corpses and objects. If the trillions of specimens were to be combined, it would actually form an incomparably complex picture, and these specimens had protrusions and depressions, forming a 3D enigmatic picture. This 3D enigmatic picture, Luo Feng looked. His heart was in turmoil. Other warriors may not know, but how could he not know? He had relied on the endless dark ocean to unleash his natural talent and research on the structure of life many times, even allowing his god body to break through the limit of perfection. This is the most detailed structure of a perfect life. Luo Feng was shocked within. With one look, Luo Feng swiftly memorized it. If he didn't understand, he wouldn't be able to memorize it no matter how much he looked. However, Luo Feng already had some accomplishments in this area. His research had already surpassed this life enigmatic picture. Left. Luo Feng turned to look at the other side, combining the trillions of specimens. It was indeed another perfect life enigmatic picture. The one before should be a flesh and blood life form, and this should be a plant life form. Luo Feng swiftly memorized it and continued forward. Along the way, on both sides of the walls, countless specimens formed life enigmatic pictures. All of them were perfect life forms. Even though they were all perfect life forms, there were still differences. Even the perfect genetic structure of the flesh and blood life form could be split into hundreds and thousands of types. It's unbelievable! So detailed. Luo Feng was shocked and continued forward. In a short while, he reached the end. There was a door. On it was an incomplete life enigmatic picture. Luo Feng looked and smiled. Flesh and blood life form? With a point of his finger, he infused his god energy and swiftly filled up the incomplete life enigmatic picture, forming a perfect life enigmatic picture. To Luo Feng, the perfect life form, he had studied it countless times before. If it was an energy life form, he would probably need to spend a lot of time. However, as a flesh and blood life form, he was extremely confident he could instantly complete it. Rumble. The wooden door at the end of the passage immediately let out a green light. enveloping Luo Feng. So, Luo Feng vanished from the door. He entered. It's only been a short while, and he's already entered the next part of the God energy path? Definitely, his God body has definitely broken through the perfect gene level, and he's walking the God energy path. It's just that this soldier he is filled with ambition. He's not willing to become a true God just like that. He wants his life genes to reach even higher levels. The tall and sturdy leader roared. The other leaders were all shocked and excited. I wonder just how much he'll gain. The 4 leaders were all filled with anticipation. Even they were unable to see the deeper parts of the true God's path of divinity. The awakened crow building was a huge secret. Even though the 4 leaders could monitor it, they could only monitor a portion of it. Like some special regions, like the 8th and 9th level, the 4 leaders couldn't even scan a bit. Like the 4th level, the depths of the God energy path, they couldn't scan either. Because that was a huge secret. Becoming a true God through the God energy path was already extremely difficult. The analysis of life forms was even more of a secret. Like Luo Feng, who had the primal universe's creation technique, some of the stronger life forms could only be vaguely scanned. As for the drop of God blood forced out by Wu Yue, it was even more impossible to scan. Like the true gods, void true gods, eternal true gods, etc., they couldn't truly analyze every single life form. Such a series of extremely detailed life forms, one could imagine how precious it was. Of course, only after comprehending, understanding, could one remember. If one didn't understand, no matter how much they looked, they wouldn't be able to remember, it was useless. Hence, this life form diagram was only a support. However, this support was definitely something the ancient civilization's large powers wouldn't leak out. Even the Duandong River sect couldn't take it out. The 4th watch of the 5th watch had arrived. The monthly vote gap had actually gotten even bigger? Tomato tears begging for monthly votes, to be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1411. Space trembled. In the depths of the God energy path and true God path, Luo Feng appeared out of thin air. Luo Feng looked over, river? Ahead was still the pathway, and on both sides were walls with countless specimens. However, the wide and deep passageway in front of him was actually a river. Luo Feng stood on top of the river and looked down in shock. He used his God energy to sense and discovered that the river was filled with endless amounts of God energy that had no owner. Just like the primal universe origin law ocean's God energy, it could be absorbed and used as one wished. It's actually God energy and there's so much of it. Luo Feng was overjoyed. One had to know that his God body's height was 100,000 kilometers, the pathway's width and height were over 100 million km, and its length was tens of billions of kilometers. Such a huge pathway, half of it was filled with this God energy river. That God Emperor left so much God energy here. Luo Feng pondered. Later generations will study it here. The moment they comprehend it, their God bodies will break through. Naturally, they would need God energy to replenish it. Is that the reason? No matter what the reason was, one would be a fool not to absorb God energy. With a thought, the God energy below immediately surged and was absorbed by Luo Feng. From the 1st to 3rd level, Luo Feng had indeed used up quite a bit of God energy. Especially the golden horned beast, because his earth body broke through to 16,000 times. To replenish his God energy, the golden horned beast's body had always been lacking a lot of God energy. Since there's so much God energy, then I'll go all out and let my God body reach the highest level I've comprehended so far. Luo Feng didn't hesitate anymore. God body reform. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Rumble. Luo Feng's earth body immediately completely disintegrated, becoming a vast amount of God energy. Every bit of God energy changed its life structure and swiftly condensed back into his earth body. Who? Luo Feng's body was madly absorbing the surrounding river water, swiftly replenishing it. At the same time, the golden horned beast clone was also reassembling its god body and replenishing its god energy. After a while, everything stopped. My current god body, my life genetic level, has already reached about 28,000 times. But we're still far from our goal, Luo Feng thought. Back when he was on his way to the godly King Valley, far away in the primal universe's endless dark ocean, he obtained a large amount of the blood, scales and hair of a true god for the first time, allowing him to break through and comprehend the 16,000 times genetic structure. In the following period of time, while Luo Feng was rushing, especially during the time he was waiting for the other batches of soldiers to arrive on the third floor of the Awakened Crow building, under the 10,000 times time acceleration in the training space, Luo Feng broke through continuously, finally reaching 28,000 times his life force genetic level, which could be considered a small bottleneck in this short period of time. At this time, Luo Feng naturally took the chance to absorb the god energy and reach his strongest state. Actually, even with the natural talent creation, large amounts of true god blood, hair and scales, Luo Feng was actually a little disappointed that he couldn't even reach the first 30,000 times. After all, 30,000 times was only the first stage. Life diagram. Luo Feng stood on the god energy river, looking at the even more complicated life diagram on both sides. Flesh type, rock type, energy type, metal type, plant type, all sorts of life diagrams, from 10,000 times to 30,000 times, there were many of them. Luo Feng grasped the life diagram the fastest. As for the others, he was obviously much slower. Luo Feng focused mainly on the flesh and blood type, the others were temporarily thrown aside of course. While studying the flesh and blood type, Luo Feng had some additional gains in the other life forms. Time passed day by day. While Luo Feng was studying these life diagrams, in the distant primal universe, the endless dark ocean was also studying. And in the inheritance training space, the golden horned beast was experimenting time and time again. On the 15th day, it was only natural Luo Feng once again broke through, causing his life genetic structure to soar to about 32,000 times. The main thing was that Luo Feng's foundations were already good, originally reaching 28,000 times, now with some inspiration and comprehension, naturally he broke through to the 30,000 times level. Rumble. The majestic Luo Feng, the surrounding river surged and surrounded him, constantly entering his body. God body's first stage. His body's height could explosively rise by 10 times, of course it had enough God energy. As he absorbed large amounts of God energy, Luo Feng very quickly rose to a height of 1,000,000 kilometers. Even the golden horned beast similarly reached a length of 1,000,000 kilometers. Haha, Luo Feng laughed loudly. Standing at the end of the river pathway, there was also a wooden door, on it was also an incomplete life diagram. And a blood and flesh type life form? Luo Feng thought, don't tell me the God Emperor's test on the wooden door is based on the number of soldiers that enter? If a plant type soldier enters, the wooden door's test will be the plant type's life diagram? Luo Feng didn't hesitate, very quickly completing this life diagram. This life diagram was 30,000 times life genetic structure. Luo Feng pondered a little and quickly completed it. 1. The wooden door shot out a green light that enveloped Luo Feng, immediately sending him deeper into the true God path. Luo Feng appeared in mid-air. Before him was still a river pathway, both sides were still walls. Only this pathway was even wider and deeper, the life diagrams on the walls were even more complicated and huge. The first section is a perfect life form, the second is 10,000 to 30,000 times. This third should be 30,000 to 60,000 times. Luo Feng's gaze swept, feeling that it was incomparably profound. The previous two pathways, I already had the basics, hence I easily passed through. This pathway. I'm afraid it won't be that easy. Luo Feng flew forward, looking at the first blood and flesh life diagram on the right. According to Luo Feng's guess, this should be a life diagram with a genetic structure of about 35,000 times. However, this life diagram immediately trapped Luo Feng. There were many things he didn't understand. If he couldn't comprehend it, it would be a waste to look at it. Closing his eyes would make him unable to recall. Only by comprehending it would he be able to remember. Luo Feng temporarily gave up on the other life forms, focusing on the blood and flesh type. The first diagram, Luo Feng stood on the river without moving, looking at it for a total of 3 months. While he was looking, the primal universe endless dark ocean was using its natural talent creation to study the blood, scales and hairs of the true gods. The golden horned beast was using the 10,000 times time acceleration to study and analyze. Although it looked like 3 months, in truth it took him a few thousand years to comprehend it. The second diagram, Luo Feng stood and looked at it for over a month. The third diagram, Luo Feng looked at it for over half a year. Luo Feng stared at the life diagrams of the flesh and blood life forms, looking from low to high, and then comparing it to the creation ability of the endless dark ocean. He studied the life structures of the true gods carefully. Under the 10,000 times time acceleration, he constantly studied the meaning of each diagram. Mysterious, almost like creating a technique, and Luo Feng's grasp on the genetic structure of the life continued to rise. 1 year and half a month, Luo Feng's genetic structure rose to 40,000 times. After spending about 80 years, it reached 50,000 times. However, in the following 1,000 years, Luo Feng was still stuck at this stage, unable to break through. Luo Feng couldn't bear to. This path to the true God was definitely an incomparably precious treasure. After all, even the broken East River region didn't have such a detailed series of life diagrams. He had to study it here, because the moment he left, he would forget everything he didn't comprehend. He wouldn't be able to remember. 1 era. The longest titled missions can last is 1 era's time. The next era will be the next mission period. I have to do my best to gain as much as I can in this era. Such precious life diagrams, they're all placed in front of me, allowing me to study them. And I have the natural talent creation technique. These 2 great advantages are helping me. If I miss this opportunity, I'll definitely die. In the future, I'll have to spend 1,000,000 times more time, and I might not even get as much as this. Luo Feng didn't dare relax at all. Outside the Wu Qi building, a soldier was teleported out of the room. On the 3rd level of the silver gray palace beside the Wu Qi building, beside the railing, there were 4 silhouettes, all looking down at the soldier that was teleported out. Within the Wu Qi building, the other soldiers have been teleported out. Their time in the 4th level has come to an end. That soldier his achievements are higher, hence he can stay longer. I wonder how much he's gained on the God Energy True God path. The tall and sturdy leader exclaimed. The other 3 leaders looked at the Wu Qi building too. They couldn't see inside. However, they were very clear. Since Soldier he had walked deeper on the True God path, that meant he could enter the 5th level and continue upwards. The longest titled mission period is 1 era. And the 4th level, he can at most stay half an era. I wonder how much he'll gain in this half an era. Luo Feng himself didn't know at all. He could at most stay half an era on the True God path. Actually, it was useless even if he knew, because he was already doing his best to study it, madly studying it. On the 4,200th year of the True God path, at the end of the pathway was a huge life diagram. Luo Feng stood there unmoving. He had been standing there for over 2,000 years. Suddenly he smiled. His tightly furrowed brows relaxed, and he looked very relaxed. With a moment of comprehension, he was enlightened. This feeling of enlightenment was incomparably beautiful. So it's like that. Luo Feng laughed loudly. Rumble. The godly body immediately disintegrated. following which every bit of God energy underwent a huge change, following which it condensed again. Simultaneously the surrounding river surged and condensed. A majestic godly body continuously grew. Very quickly, Luo Feng's feet stepped on the ground of the tunnel, his head almost touching the highest point of the tunnel. Luo Feng, his god body had already reached a height of 100 million kilometers. His life genetic level had already broken through 60,000 times. Over a 100 million kilometers huge body, yet it didn't feel like a burden at all. Unlike those huge life forms that were hard to move, Luo Feng's life genetic level was 60,000 times higher. With such a huge body, his speed and agility would only get stronger. His earth body and golden horned beast body were both at their limit. Next section. Luo Feng swiftly shrunk and walked to the wooden door, spending some time to complete the life diagram. Hua! The green light shone and Luo Feng was sent to the other side. Before him was a pathway, on both sides were walls. There wasn't any god energy or water within. The walls didn't have any specimens either, it was a blank space. Blank. Luo Feng was stunned. The 5th chapter was over. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:12. Luo Feng carefully looked at the two walls before him. There were no specimens, no life diagrams. Blank. What does that mean? Don't tell me this life diagram isn't in the form of a specimen? Luo Feng curiously followed the pathway deeper in, carefully looking at all the traces within, searching for any clues. He couldn't find any. There were no traces that Luo Feng found special. Suddenly Luo Feng's ears twitched. He could vaguely hear an ethereal sound ringing around him. The ethereal sound was very soft, but it was everywhere. Gradually, the sound got louder and the surrounding space started to emit black light dots. Countless light dots started to condense and condense not far away from Luo Feng. It became a blurry silhouette. This was a blurry silhouette glowing black. It seemed normal, however Luo Feng couldn't help but feel a sense of worship. The blurry silhouette's back faced Luo Feng. To be able to reach this point, you're only one step away from the pinnacle of the true God. Remember, the path of the true God, to reach the pinnacle. The blurry silhouette said slowly, you can only seek for yourself. I hope you can reach the top of the awakened Crow Tower. The blurry silhouette turned slightly, glancing at Luo Feng before disappearing. Luo Feng stood there in a daze. He couldn't even see the silhouette clearly. He couldn't even see the silhouette's appearance clearly. However, in front of the silhouette, he immediately felt a desire to worship him. He had a desire to fight for him and die for him. This is just a virtual consciousness. Luo Feng was shocked. Definitely much more powerful than my predecessor, Duan Dongha. The previous Duan Dong he had fallen long ago. However, he left behind a virtual consciousness, forming an energy body, choosing an inheritor, before finally collapsing. A virtual consciousness, in theory, it wasn't a life form, however it still contained all the memories. Memory itself was a form of power. Once one understood all the memories, the primal chaos laws, etc., naturally it would be extraordinary. Just like that virtual consciousness from before, Luo Feng estimated it was a virtual consciousness left behind by His Majesty the God Emperor. Just that virtual consciousness alone made him want to die for him. If His Majesty was here personally, what would happen? It should be His Majesty. This awakening tower was built by His Majesty the God King. Especially this path of true divinity. The life diagram contained within it is incomparably precious. Even my East-breaking river lineage doesn't have it, and the average powerhouses under His Majesty the God King don't have the qualifications to come into contact with it. The only person who can leave a virtual consciousness here is most likely His Majesty the God King. Luo Feng immediately felt. This was not an ordinary title. When he accepted the titled mission, Luo Feng did it purely for the powerful mechanical treasure Wu Qi Shun, as well as to train himself a bit. However, the life pictures that appeared on the path of the true God, Luo Feng was too excited back then. Now that he had calmed down, he realized something was wrong. Even an existence like the third-generation patriarch couldn't obtain such a precious diagram of life, so how could His Majesty the godly king of the Gene world so easily give it to others? Right now, this virtual consciousness that appeared made Luo Feng feel that something was wrong. If I'm not wrong, the behemoth in the cosmic sea is the fallen His Majesty the Divine King. His Majesty the God King has fallen? Before his death, he built the Tower of Awakening Crow, created the Awakening God, and set this titled mission. Countless thoughts flashed through Luo Feng's mind. Suddenly, rumble! A beam of light descended and enveloped Luo Feng. So, Luo Feng vanished from the pathway. The fifth level of the Awakening Crow building was a world of ice and snow. Shwa! Luo Feng appeared. HM? Luo Feng looked at the endless world of ice and snow around him. This should be the fifth level. Luo Feng couldn't help but smile. The rewards from the fourth level were too great. Even the rewards he had anticipated after entering the Gene world weren't as great as the rewards from the fourth level. After over 4,000 years, his god body had actually reached the second level, 60,000 times life force gene level. He was only one level away from the 90,000 times level. That virtual consciousness from the godly king said, on the path of the true God, to reach the pinnacle, one has to rely on oneself? Luo Feng memorized it. Other than the rewards from the god body, the fourth level's end made Luo Feng realize. This titled mission wasn't just a simple one, it held a huge secret within. The huge being suspected to be the godly king, how did it fall, drifting in the cosmic sea? Then why did the primal universe's willpower guide us? Vast Thunder Star Lord used a completely opposite energy before he died. Where did it come from? Luo Feng had many questions within. Within the silver-gray palace outside the Wu Qi building, the four leaders that had been guarding the godly King Valley for a long time were all waiting in their thrones. As Luo Feng was deep within the path of the true God, they couldn't see anything, they could only wait. Hua! The screen that had been floating there suddenly displayed a scene. Fifth level of the Wu Qi building. The black mist in the left throne said excitedly, he's entered the fifth level. It hasn't even been half an era and he's already entered the fifth level? No matter what, he's already begun his breakthrough from the fifth to the seventh level. The silver-armored female leader, tall and sturdy man, beast leader and black mist leader, the four were all filled with excitement and anticipation. I wonder if this soldier he will be able to pass all three levels and enter the eighth. The fifth, sixth and seventh levels, these three levels are extremely helpful to the strong, but their difficulty is also extremely high. Our Gene world has a large number of elite soldiers. Many of them have the chance to pass the fifth level, but most of them are eliminated at the fifth, sixth, or even seventh to date. Only one has been able to make it to the eighth level. These three levels are indeed extremely difficult. This soldier he is indeed very strong. He has a high chance of passing all three levels. The four leaders were all filled with anticipation. The Wu Qi building held a huge secret. Like the 8th and 9th levels, the four leaders couldn't even see them. Who knows how many elite soldiers have made it to the 8th level before, only to fail at it. This 8th level was also the final challenge. The moment one successfully passes the 8th level, he would be able to enter the 9th level. As long as he reached the top, he would succeed and receive a title. 5th level of the Wu Qi building, a vast world of ice and snow. Luo Feng surveyed his surroundings. Just me? Luo Feng pondered, where are the other soldiers? There were 15 soldiers on the 4th level back then. Rumble! The surrounding snow and wind suddenly swept up and enveloped Luo Feng. An ancient voice resounded in his mind. Soldier he, The other soldiers have all been eliminated. From the 5th level onwards, only you will be able to pass. On the 5th level, there will be a strong opponent. As long as you defeat him, you will be able to enter the 6th level. If you fail, you will have to leave the building." Luo Feng nodded within. Only the first 3 levels had the danger of death. From here onwards there would be no danger. Luo Feng squinted, looking into the distance. In the distant snow and wind, a silhouette could be vaguely seen. He was dressed in a white robe, strolling over, seemingly slow but constantly getting closer. Luo Feng could see clearly. This white-robed man was very handsome. On his forehead there was a red mole. He smiled. His ears slightly pointed, looking at Luo Feng with admiration. "Soldier In He, my energy will be the same as yours. Since you specialize in blade techniques, I'll use my blade techniques to battle you." The white-robed man extended his hand. The surrounding snow madly gathered, swiftly forming an ice blade. Simultaneously the white-robed man's entire body began to emit a soaring battle intent, even to the point where his entire body seemed to have become a blade, that powerful battle intent, constantly pressuring Luo Feng. "Blade?" Luo Feng extended his hand. A blood shadow blade appeared in mid-air, simultaneously staring at his opponent. His powerful battle intent no weaker than his opponent's. "Very good." The white-robed man smiled. "Receive my first blade." What? The white-robed man's silhouette was like a demon. The blade's silhouette was ethereal. One after another blade's silhouette appeared. Almost in an instant, in front of Luo Feng there were trillions of blade silhouettes. As though he had entered a world of blade silhouettes, countless blade silhouettes. How could Luo Feng defend? How can an illusion confuse me? The willpower in Luo Feng's mind roared, immediately destroying everything. A blade silhouette had already arrived in front of Luo Feng. Dang! The ice blade and the blood shadow blade clashed. The white-robed man was immediately sent flying far away. Second blade. The white-robed man flew over with an even faster speed, almost as though he had gone mad. His aura rushed to the sky, like a madly burning flame. The blade's power was against the heavens, bringing with it an endless amount of power. A vertical slash with one slash, the world seemed to be split in half. Seal! Luo Feng's blood shadow blade shook. Immediately a slender blade light met. Following closely after, it swiftly thickened. The moment the two clashed, the blade light immediately became a small world, enveloping the enemy's blade light. Small world split. 2 blade lights clashed. Third blade. The white-robed man roared. His body began to spin, instantly becoming a gale. 9th blade. 36th blade. 99th blade. 163rd blade. The white-robed man was like a mad demon. After one blade was blocked, he immediately unleashed another blade technique. Every blade technique was different. However, Luo Feng went from giving it his all at the start to getting excited, and now he was like a demon, fighting over and over again. It's actually like this. Luo Feng understood. This 5th level wasn't a challenge, it was simply a reward. No wonder the 4th level onwards was a reward. The white-robed man's blade technique before him was basically guiding Luo Feng. Through the way they fought, he was guiding Luo Feng. This white-robed man's blade technique could be divided into the 10 basic laws of metal: wood, water, fire, earth, wind, lightning, light, time, space. Even though the primal chaos laws were mysterious and unfathomable, the path of a true god was to pursue the ultimate primal chaos laws. However, everything was based on the 10 basic laws. Whether it was the fusion laws or the evolution of the universe, the 10 simplest laws were the basic. However, even the basics, Luo Feng's comprehension was very simple, and this white-robed man's blade technique, just the gold law alone, had already displayed a total of 16 blades. Every blade's concept was different, and every blade's level could be considered the pinnacle of level 6. This was an unbelievable thing. Just one basic law could create such a heaven-defying blade technique? Just the exchange alone caused Luo Feng's understanding of the 10 basic laws to soar. One exchange was more effective than 10,000 eras of comprehension. How could Luo Feng not be excited? First update. I was too tired from rushing in the day. I fell asleep at night. Tomato was ashamed. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1413. 233rd Blade. The white-robed man's blade technique shocked Luo Feng. These blade techniques were all at the pinnacle of level 6. To Luo Feng, they didn't pose a threat at all. However, to be able to create them just by relying on the basic laws, this made Luo Feng extremely impressed and shocked. While fighting with the white-robed man, he was training in the inheritance space. The golden-horned beast used the 10,000 times time acceleration to study every single blade technique. 360th Blade. After the 360th blade was repelled by Luo Feng, the white-robed man however retreated far away, standing on the snow ground and temporarily stopping. Luo Feng was stunned. He stopped? Since these 360 blades can't do anything to you, then receive my stronger blade technique. The white-robed man said. The ice blade in his hand immediately lit up, and in an instant a roaring beast appeared. It was a beast that looked like a horned lizard. Luo Feng was shocked when he saw it. Golden Beast God? Howl! The moment the ice blade appeared, the roaring golden beast god was incomparably mad. It lowered its head and pointed its horn forward, almost as though it was burning its life force as it charged forward. Rumble! It left behind a piercing golden light in space. Hua! The glaring water and fire light lit up and blocked the piercing light. Golden Space Law. Luo Feng was shocked within. Level 7 Blade Technique. The 360 blades before, every blade only contained one basic law, and every blade was at the pinnacle of level 6, equivalent to Nirvana rebirth. And this time, the 361st blade was infused with the Golden Space Law. Its power had reached the level 7 level. It forced Luo Feng to unleash the light of water and fire to block it. This white-robed man said before that he was using the same energy as Luo Feng, however in truth, the power he emitted was much stronger, because Luo Feng used the Blood Shadow Blade to unleash Nirvana Rebirth to block the 360 blades the white-robed man unleashed. Obviously, this 5th level was actually a test of battle technique. As for the God Energy, Blood Shadow Blade, all other advantages were useless. He has already seen through the secret. He finally knows the benefits of the 5th level. Haha, look at this soldier Inhe. He's been fighting all this time, but he hasn't used his full strength to defeat his opponent. Clearly, he's trying to learn more saber techniques from his opponent. The 4 commanders all laughed and sighed. The soldiers who had reached the 5th level would quickly discover the mysteries behind this. Then, he delightfully absorbed and comprehended them one by one. Luo Feng was indeed absorbing and comprehending. The 360 blade strikes from before had affected him greatly. Because he had obtained the inheritance of the East Duan River, he had understood the importance of the 10 great basic laws. Luo Feng had long since comprehended the 10 great basic laws, but he had never comprehended them to such an extent. Understanding the laws was like understanding some element. As for how far one could combine certain elements, that would depend on one's ability. In the cosmic sea, one could rely on the fusion laws or the spacetime laws to create a top-notch Tier 5 mystic technique. This was known as the strongest mystic technique, but in reality, it was just a huge bottleneck, a bottleneck that was very difficult to break through. Like Luo Feng, didn't he use the golden space laws to create the pinnacle of the level 6 Nirvana Rebirth? Didn't he create the light of water and fire based on the laws of water, fire, and metal? The so-called limit, the so-called perfection. Actually, it was just a huge bottleneck. For example, a life genetic level of 10,081 times was considered perfect. However, Luo Feng had still reached 60,000 times. He was greatly affected. Especially with the 10,000 times time acceleration in the training space, it allowed Luo Feng to comprehend many things. While exchanging blows with the white-robed man, Luo Feng's blade technique was gradually improving. 399 blade. The white-robed man immediately became a huge tornado. Within the tornado were many golden blades, one after the other, almost like a fan's blades stacked on top of each other. Luo Feng, who was enveloped by this endless tornado, fiercely roared. The moment he waved the blood shadow blade in his hand. Rumble, 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 rumble. As the blood shadow saber brandished the blood shadow saber, the center of the countless layers of golden saber blades instantly exploded. The moment the incomparably berserk saber light appeared, it caused everything in the surroundings to explode. All the energy, space-time, and the countless layers of saber blades also exploded. Everything dissipated. The white-robed man was immediately flung away, retreating 3 steps, looking shocked at Luo Feng. Luo Feng wielded the blood shadow blade, filled with excitement. Success. Finally, he created a pinnacle level 7 blade technique. Nirvana Rebirth was a pinnacle level 6 blade technique. Light of Water and Fire was a level 7 blade technique. Ever since he created it, it was incredibly hard to break through. Back in the 9 Smoke Swamp, Luo Feng killed that beast god under the eyes of 10,000 true gods. That time, he really gave it his all, Actually, in that battle, Luo Feng's blade technique had already improved. He felt like he was about to break through. However, he still hadn't accumulated enough. This time, the 360 blades caused Luo Feng's foundation in the origin laws to obviously solidify. Immediately, the conditions were right. Using water, fire, metal, space, the 4 laws combined naturally, he created such an incomparably domineering blade technique. This blade was explosive, ripping, destroying everything. This blade was created in the Awakening House. This time, I must enter the 9th level and ascend the Awakening House. Everything that obstructs me will be destroyed. Nobody can obstruct my path. This move, I'll call it the 9 Heavens Path. Luo Feng thought. Luo Feng's 3-blade technique. Nirvana Rebirth, Light of Water and Fire, 9 Heavens Path. These were all techniques that had to be carved into the blood shadow blade. Of course, this was the Awakening House. Luo Feng wasn't in a rush to carve them in. My blade technique has reached the pinnacle of level 7. It's at least average in the past generations of Duandong River. Luo Feng was overjoyed within. In the past generations of Duandong River, there were only 2 who created level 8 techniques at the Universe Lord level. The rest were mostly at the pinnacle of level 7. With my blade technique reaching this level, I can comprehend the 3rd level of the Wu Killing Wings technique. I can also comprehend the higher levels of the Star Pagoda. The stronger one's foundations were, the higher the level of the treasures could be unleashed. Back when Luo Feng killed Pei Xinglord, even though he acquired the other pair of wings, the 3rd level of the Wu Killing Wings technique, Luo Feng couldn't comprehend it at all. It was too difficult. And now that his blade technique had reached the pinnacle of level 7, his level was completely different. He estimated he should be able to comprehend it. The 1st level of the Wu Killing Wings technique was chaotic space. The 2nd level was the Golden Country. Who knew what would the 3rd level be? Luo Feng was anticipating. Within the Silver-Gray Palace's 3rd level. The Black Mist leader exclaimed, "His blade technique has broken through. This is already at the middle level of True God." The pinnacle of level 6 techniques could only be considered at the beginner level. The pinnacle of level 7 was considered at the middle level. The pinnacle of level 8 was considered at the upper level. Back then, the creator of the huge axe created his own axe technique at this level. After that, he relied on his treasures to unleash a pinnacle of level 9 attack. The pinnacle of level 9 was the limit of True God. Of course, relying on treasures, one could unleash an even higher level of power. Just like Jiefanzi, the pinnacle of level 10, an absolute being amongst the true gods could only reach that level with the help of treasures. Of course, some heavenly beings didn't count. Like Luofeng, he could create a pinnacle of level 7 blade technique at the Universe Lord level. Once he became a true god, he could naturally break through the limits of normal true gods. Just like the ancestor, before he was suppressed, he created the virtual universe. Without the help of any treasures, he was already at the pinnacle of level 10 power. Especially after being suppressed by the primal universe source energy for so many years, he broke through again. His level had actually already reached the void true god level. It was just that he was constantly suppressed. His god body couldn't break through. He couldn't get any god energy. His small universe couldn't evolve. It was still filled with chaos energy. Even the most basic evolution hadn't been completed. Overlord, creating a true god middle-level blade technique. Unbelievable. Even at the Overlord level, I'm still slightly weaker than him. The tall and sturdy leader exclaimed. Even though this 5th level is hard, as long as he can block the attacks, it's fine. I didn't expect this soldier he to reach such a level. The silver-armored lady leader beside exclaimed softly. This was the truth. Passing the 5th level was indeed so. As long as his attack technique reached level 7, the white-robed man's first 360 blades would only be at the pinnacle of level 6. The blade techniques that merged with the origin laws would only be at level 7. As long as he didn't lose. In the end, the white-robed man would admit defeat. 450th blade. Luofeng was like a demon. His crazy and terrifying blade techniques immediately smashed into the white-robed man's body. The white-robed man was immediately smashed into the snowy ground, causing the ground to explode, leaving behind a long ravine. Wah! The white-robed man stood up and exclaimed, "You are very powerful. I admit defeat." After which he casually threw it. The ice blade in his hand immediately became snow and scattered. He himself took a step forward and was far away. With another step, he disappeared from Luofeng's vision. Luofeng stood there stunned. It ended just like that? Luofeng was shocked. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Luofeng was anxious and unwilling. After creating the 9 Sky Road, Luofeng gave it his all to spar with the white-robed man. He tried his best to create an even stronger blade technique. He suppressed the white-robed man every time. Every time he absorbed some comprehension from the white-robed man, he would infuse whatever suited him into his blade technique. Luofeng wanted to create a level 8 blade technique. Among the inheritors of Duandong River, only 2 at the Universe Lord level could do it. Luofeng wanted to do it too. However, it was really difficult. After the white-robed man left, Luofeng still hadn't succeeded. Looks like a level 8 blade technique isn't that easy to create. Luofeng exclaimed. Luofeng thought. The white-robed man had unleashed a total of 450 blades, of which there were 360 created from the 10 basic laws, and the fusion laws had a total of 90 blades. All the fused laws had been displayed, and this white-robed man had basically come here to display all of them before he retreated after accomplishing his mission. He admitted defeat and I succeeded? Luofeng suddenly thought. If I didn't create my own blade technique, but used the techniques from the ultimate treasures, what would the result be? Relying on the ultimate treasures, the techniques unleashed were usually one level higher. Luofeng quickly understood. This was the awakened crow building left behind by the God Emperor. Whether the challenger relied on the ultimate treasures or himself, if he couldn't even appraise this, that would be a joke. Rumble! A beam of light descended from the sky and enveloped Luofeng. So, Luofeng disappeared from the 5th level of the awakened crow building. Requesting recommendation votes. Every day everyone has recommendation vote. Recommendation votes are very important to Tomato. Please support. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:14. I've already consecutively gotten the recommendation votes for over 10 times. Swallowed Star is also entering the final stages. If I can get the recommendation votes for another month, I'll get it. I hope everyone votes for me. 6th level of the Awakened Wu building. The moment Luo Feng appeared, he surveyed his surroundings. This was a mountain and hill world, similarly vast and boundless. As long as you survive, you'll be considered to have passed the 6th level. You'll be able to enter the 7th level Soldier Milky Way. You're already very close to reaching the top. The old voice resounded in the sky. Luo Feng smiled. As long as I survive? His requirements were so low? It seemed like this level would be very difficult. Rumble, far away from Luo Feng in the mountain and hill world, a vast region suddenly shook, almost as though a huge being was about to emerge from the ground. The ground began to crack and protrude, large amounts of shattered rocks and earth began to fall in all directions. Gradually a dark green silhouette emerged from the ground. There's actually a huge beast that's emerging from the ground? Luo Feng muttered softly. The dark green behemoth rumbled out of the ground and appeared on the surface. It was extremely ugly, similar to a dark green toad. However, on every part of its skin was an eye. With one glance, there were at least a few hundred eyes. Howl, the beast raised its head and roared. Pang! Every eye on its body shot out a beam of gold light, shooting in all directions. However, it only shot out over 100 million km before dissipating. 1,000 eyes. Luo Feng immediately determined the number of eyes this beast had according to the light. The 1,000-eyed beast howled once before looking at Luo Feng. More than half of its eyes were looking at Luo Feng. At the same time, its voice was like thunder, resounding throughout the land and skies. It's been a very, very long time. I have finally been born once more. Soldier, I'll deal with you very slowly. The longer you last, the happier I'll be. In this 6th level, it's very hard to meet a life form. Luo Feng laughed. The longer he could hold on? His current god body had reached a height of 100 million kilometers, such a huge body, and he had looted a lot in the 3rd level, especially after the plant life soldier died. He had obtained a bunch of mechanical treasures. With so many mechanical treasures, if he used them well, he would be able to unleash even greater combat power. Live on, to force me to the point where I can't live on, this is very difficult. Luo Feng thought. Ho, the 1,000-eyed exotic beast suddenly raised its head and let out a deafening roar. Following that, pieces of land suddenly rose up from the ground around it. Each piece of land was over 100 million kilometers in diameter. At a glance, there were over 1,000 pieces of land. Following that, the continents quickly compressed and condensed into Black Blade. Each saber was about 300,000 kilometers long. 1,000 blades floated in mid-air. The 1,000-eyed beast looked at Luo Feng. Soldier, I hope you live long enough. Hua, 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 hua. 1,000 black blades flew towards Luo Feng like a military formation. Luo Feng frowned. Trouble. The hardest to deal with were those who could control large amounts of spirit weapons. It was fine if it was just one, but 1,000. One had to know that when a strong warrior controlled a spirit weapon, to let the weapon unleash its full strength, one had to go all out to control it. Hence normally one would only control one. If one were to control 10 or 100 of them, it would only cause each one's power to weaken. It would be better to just control one spirit weapon. Only under special circumstances like Luo Feng, who had a few bodies, could naturally split into multiple consciousnesses, each one able to unleash its full power. Another example was this 1,000-eyed exotic beast. It could naturally split into 1,000 consciousnesses, each able to unleash its full power. So, So, the blades were like lightning. Over 1,000 blades immediately enveloped the sky above Luo Feng. Following that, they pounced down, leaving Luo Feng with no way to escape. When Luo Feng blocked the first blade, the other 999 blades had already surrounded him in all directions, causing him to fall into the blade formation. Dang! Luo Feng unleashed his movements, wielding the blood shadow blade. In an instant his entire being was like a huge blade silhouette. With a clang, he clashed with the blade and borrowed the force to retreat. However, after the black blade was pushed back, it chased after him. The other black blades also rushed towards Luo Feng. So troublesome! Luo Feng gritted his teeth. The difference between a spirit weapon and a strong warrior is, the spirit weapon's movement speed is faster than the strong warrior's. However, to me, this is useless. Luo Feng began to unleash his movements. To him, such a large number of attacks had no meaning at all. If it was a group attack, Luo Feng might be afraid and flee. However, it was just a group attack. There were only 8 or 10 blades that could attack him at the same time. Luo Feng naturally wasn't afraid. The 5th floor, the 6th floor, and the 7th floor. Of these 3 floors, the 6th floor is probably the easiest for Sergeant Yin He. The Black Mist commander looked at the screen and sighed. Soldier Yin He's movement technique is what shocked me the most. And the 6th level's main test is his movement. There have been many who have passed the 6th level before. His movement is much stronger than theirs, naturally it'll be easier. The silver-armored lady leader laughed softly. The only thing I'm thinking is, how much this soldier Yin He can force Qian Yan to use his technique. The tall and sturdy leader beside nodded. For him to be so relaxed, Qian Yan will definitely feel embarrassed. He'll definitely increase his attacks until Qian Yan has no way to resist, only then will he stop. I'll bet. Qian Yan has to unleash his 1,000-eye heart's light to defeat Qian Yan. The evil beast leader sitting on the right said. Luo Feng was indeed relaxed. Back then, to train his movement in the virtual space of the inheritance space, Luo Feng had used all sorts of methods to spar with the absolute warriors in the virtual space, of which there were naturally those who controlled large amounts of spirit weapons. Even the 3rd-generation ancestor, Luo Feng had sparred with them. What else was there to be ignorant about? His movement techniques, against close combat, against spirit weapons, against binding-type weapons, all of them had methods of fighting. Dang, 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 dang. Surrounded by 1,000 sabers, the blood shadow saber turned into a blurry saber image. The saber image clashed with the other sabers one after another, producing crisp sounds. Almost every time, it was the blood shadow saber clashing with the surrounding sabers. Occasionally Luo Feng's body would clash. No matter what, he had to put himself in the best possible situation. If this goes on, even in an era, you won't be able to do anything to me. Luo Feng looked at the distant 1,000-eyed beast. The 1,000-eyed beast tried its best to control it. Seeing this situation, how could it not know that the opponent was very relaxed? It was also very surprised. Ever since it came here, Luo Feng was the soldier with the strongest movement technique it had encountered, and even now, it seemed like he hadn't even pushed this soldier to his limits. Little soldier! The 1,000-eyed beast roared. Immediately the 1,000 blades changed their method of attacking Luo Feng. Before, when they attacked one by one, it was just simple coordination. And at this time, once they moved, the 10 blades moved together. In an instant, over 1,000 blades were split into 100 groups. The 10 blades in each group worked well with each other, causing their combined power to increase by more than 10 times. In an instant, Luo Feng, who was extremely relaxed before, was now in a difficult situation. Just what kind of beast is this? Using 1,000 blades at once? And every saber technique is so powerful. Luo Feng was getting crazier, using all his strength to resist. Not only was he dodging, he was attacking too. Luo Feng's full power burst was just like that. Sometimes dodging, sometimes attacking. Attacking and dodging perfectly complementing each other, this was the strongest movement. In an instant it was like the earth and skies were collapsing. Rumble, the ninth heavens road, saber technique was often used. Once the saber was used, the surrounding sabers would be torn apart and blown away. For a moment, the thousand saber array became even more chaotic. Rumble, Luo Feng passed through, destroying everything. Along with dodging and borrowing strength, he completely had the upper hand. I was wrong. The evil beast leader looked at the screen and exclaimed, even with Qian Yan's thousand-eye heartlight, he still can't defeat Soldier Yin He. When he fought before, he was only dodging. I didn't expect him to be able to infuse his blade technique into his movement technique, causing it to reach such a level. Offense was the best defense. A powerful attack could make dodging 10 or even 100 times easier. However, one wrong attack would cause a nightmare to descend upon them. Hence, to infuse an attack into a movement technique was extremely difficult. It required large amounts of experience and extremely high talent to be able to create such a movement technique. Even Luo Feng was extremely proud of himself for creating such a movement technique in over 8 million eras. From the accomplishments of the Broken East River inheritors, Luo Feng could feel that his comprehension was extremely high. He's unleashing the thousand-eye heart light. Thousand Eyes has been forced into a corner, the four commanders said to each other. Indeed, even with the thousand-eye heart light, Qian Yan only has a slight advantage. He has no way of defeating Soldier Yin He. The tall and sturdy leader said, Soldier Yin He's movement technique, at the origin Law Lord level, is already invincible and perfect. Within the mountain world of the 6th level of the Wuqi Tower. Soldier, you are indeed powerful. Even I can't defeat you. You are indeed the strongest soldier I've ever met. Maybe, you can reach the top of the Wuqi Tower. That dark green thousand-eyed beast fiercely drilled into the ground, disappearing from Luo Feng's vision. The 1,000 blades around Luo Feng immediately became countless beams of light, flying into the distance and crashing down, transforming into hills. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. That's crazy. 1,000 blades, one heart. Luo Feng muttered. His explosive energy was always the same as mine, yet he was able to unleash it to such a level. Luo Feng understood. It wasn't that he was weak, but that the opponent was very strong. The opponent was only maintaining this energy. His true identity could very well be a void true god. At this time, a beam of light descended from the sky, enveloping Luo Feng. In an instant, Luo Feng disappeared from the 6th level of the Wuqi Tower. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14-15. The 7th level was an ice world. Not far from Luo Feng was an almost transparent ice mountain range. 7th level. Luo Feng was filled with anticipation. There's a total of 9 levels, of which the first 8 are the obstacles. As long as I leave the 8th and enter the 9th level, I'll reach the top of the building and succeed. The more he thought about it, the more he felt that this 9th level definitely had a huge secret within. Only the last 2 obstacles are left. The 7th level and the final 8th level. Luo Feng carefully scanned his surroundings, carefully looking at everything. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't let his guard down. The closer he got to victory, the more cautious he had to be. Spatial ripples appeared in the sky, which was filled with cold air. Following which, a gigantic eye appeared. God Eye? Luo Feng was stunned. The final life and death situation in the 3rd level was from this God Eye. Under the gaze of the God Eye, he was met with a powerful willpower attack. This 7th level is a God Eye too. Is it a willpower attack too? Luo Feng was suspicious. However, the 3rd level is already a willpower attack. It can't be the same, right? Wang, the God Eye shot out a golden light, enveloping below and Luo Feng. Sergeant Yin He. The ancient voice resounded within his mind. Passing the God Eyes test, you will be able to enter the 8th level. That 8th level will be the final obstacle for you to reach the top. As the ancient voice vanished. Rumble! The blurry golden light in mid-air immediately emitted a powerful willpower attack, causing Luo Feng's expression to change. It was actually a willpower attack, and the strength of the first willpower attack reached the end of the 3rd level of the Awakened Crow building. Willpower? Luo Feng looked up at the God Eye, not moving at all, taking it head-on. The willpower attack was formless and formless. He couldn't dodge it. He could only take it head-on. Using willpower to fight willpower. Why is the 7th level still a willpower attack? Luo Feng's mind flashed with this suspicion, after which he threw it to the back of his mind, using all his strength to resist the willpower attack. In front of the screen, the 4 captains watched this scene unfold. This Sergeant Yin He's willpower should be very strong, passing the 7th level shouldn't be hard. The tall and sturdy leader's voice was powerful. I wonder how much of the God Eye technique he'll be able to learn. The Divine Eye secret technique is a secret technique created by His Majesty the Divine King. It's a special attack. In the realm of Jin, only those who are conferred titles, have made special contributions, or have great potential will be bestowed with it. Furthermore, he was only bestowed a portion of the God Eye secret technique. Yes, there were once 6 soldiers who made it to the 7th floor. 5 of the soldiers failed, and 1 soldier successfully entered the 8th floor. Among the 6 of them, the weakest one hasn't even learned the first volume of the God Eye secret skill, and the strongest one has only learned 3 volumes. I wonder how many scrolls Soldier Yin He can learn. Luo Feng still didn't know. His entire body was resisting the willpower attacks. Luo Feng occasionally looked at the sky God Eye, occasionally at the undulating, almost transparent ice mountains. It's resisting the willpower attack just like that? Luo Feng thought, I wonder what the strongest limit of this God Eye is. Although his will was strong, there was still a limit. If the Divine Eye's attack was more than what he could endure, he might fall unconscious and be teleported out. Even so, this is also a chance to train my willpower. There's a total of 9 levels in the Wu Qi building, the 8th is difficult, I don't believe the 7th can stop me. Luo Feng continued to resist. The hazy gold light enveloped below, making Luo Feng feel like he was covered in a layer of gold sand. The willpower attacks got stronger and stronger, very quickly reaching the true God limit level. However, this level didn't pose any threat to Luo Feng at all. Luo Feng suddenly noticed the distant ice mountain from the corner of his eyes. That's... Luo Feng turned to look. Ancient words began to appear in the belly of the nearly transparent iceberg in the distance. They were the words of the ancient civilization. The densely packed words almost filled the entire belly of the iceberg. The words at the very top were, God Eye Secret Skill Volume 1, after which were the details. God Eye Secret Skill? Luo Feng looked at the top and was overjoyed. Haha, indeed, from the 4th level onwards there are rewards. Even though it's a difficult level, there are rewards too. The 7th level actually directly rewards techniques. Luo Feng was overjoyed. Secret techniques were different from secret technique. Universe Knight level techniques had no meaning to Universe Lords, the stronger one was, the more one had to create their own technique. And lower level techniques had no meaning. However, techniques were different. Annihilation, East Flower, and Undying River were all secret arts. Secret arts were only useful for the weak, even for super experts. A strong technique could completely raise one's strength. Like Undying River, it gave one more chance to turn the tables. It was an invaluable technique in the ancient civilization. Luo Feng acquired the entire set of Annihilation, due to the primal origin willpower's influence. He was only able to see the first 3 volumes. However, once he reached the Void True God level, he would naturally be able to see the later contents of annihilation. In the universe Lord and true God level, annihilation was already ahead of many God-burning techniques. The later levels would naturally be even better. One step ahead, every step ahead. And the further one went, the more valuable it got. Just like in the gene world, the God-burning techniques were only passed down to the first few levels. I can actually get a technique. Luo Feng was overjoyed. I wonder what technique it is. I wonder if our Duandong River has any. Duandong River was after all just a single branch, every generation only having one inheritor. That His Majesty the Divine King had established a super force. What His Majesty the Divine King had, the broken East River lineage might not have. Luo Feng looked carefully. As for the willpower attack? The willpower attack was at the limit of true God. It couldn't affect Luo Feng at all. God Eye Technique, it's a technique that uses willpower. Luo Feng was overjoyed after a quick look. Huge rewards. Huge opportunity. He had the inheritance of Duandong River. He had an understanding of the ancient civilization. Naturally, he understood the importance of the God Eye Technique. The God Eye Technique was a technique that used willpower. Maybe the third-generation ancestor of Duandong River could create 3 or 4 volumes. However, if he wasn't proficient in this aspect, the technique he created wouldn't reach a higher level. Therefore, to a large force or a lineage, just the first 3 or 4 volumes were meaningless. Only the complete and pinnacle, able to look down on the ancient civilization's complete series of techniques, was something to be proud of. Like Annihilation, East Flower, Undying River, they were all complete series. Willpower. The strong all have willpower. There are strong and weak willpower. When the weak die, everything dissipates. And even when the strong die, their willpower doesn't dissipate. Even a drop of blood, a scale from their body, will contain a powerful willpower attack. When the strong are alive, when they battle, the willpower clash, the strong can cause the opponent to lose focus, gaining the upper hand even before the battle. If the difference in willpower is huge, the natural willpower attack can cause the opponent to fall unconscious, unable to resist at all. Luo Feng looked at the contents of the first volume of the God Eye Technique, nodding. Actually, to the strong. Using flesh and blood life forms as an example, they had soul, consciousness, and willpower. The moment the soul was destroyed, naturally they would be dead. And consciousness used the soul as the foundation. The stronger the soul, the stronger the consciousness. The weaker the soul, the weaker the consciousness. When 2 strong warriors fought like a true god and a universe knight, the difference in consciousness was too huge. Just the pressure from the consciousness alone could cause the opponent's soul to shatter, immediately killing him. And willpower was different. Willpower was very powerful. Even if the soul was weak and the consciousness was weak, as long as one's heart was strong, one would still have extremely strong willpower. Extremely strong willpower. When one was weak, willpower wasn't very useful. Normally it was used to resist illusions, to guard one's heart, etc. The moment one died, the willpower would naturally dissipate, not having much offensive use. However, at True God, Void True God, and even higher levels, willpower became more and more important. When an absolute warrior dies, their willpower doesn't dissipate. Just like the drop of God blood Luo Feng obtained, it was like that. But even in the ancient civilization, some absolute warriors could only use their natural willpower to fight and suppress their opponents. They didn't know how to use their willpower better. Willpower was too ethereal, a very illusory existence. How to use it? Only some absolute beings could experience it and create it. Unlike the secret skill of divine power ignition, the most basic secret skill of divine power ignition, even some strong void real gods could comprehend it. But even an eternal true God couldn't comprehend the will secret skill. Only after mastering the law of chaos could one gradually comprehend it. God's Eye secret skill was a powerful secret skill that His Majesty the Divine King had created. One's willpower has to reach the level of a void true god before he can start to cultivate the God's eye secret skill? Huh! Why does it feel like cultivating the mind? Luo Feng read and thought about the first volume of the God's eye secret skill. Besides the contents of the secret skill, the first volume also had some guidance on improving willpower. According to the contents, in order to improve willpower, one had to pay attention to one's inner heart, analyze one's inner heart, understand oneself, understand one's inner heart, and continuously improve oneself. The God's eye in the sky gave off a blurry golden light, and the willpower it contained kept increasing. It had already surpassed the limit of a true god, and continued to improve. There was a huge leap from the limit of a true god to a void true god. Hence, Luo Feng could still block it easily. On the belly of the ice mountain, there were lines of words appearing continuously. They were still the contents of the first volume of the God's eye secret skill. It was obvious that the first volume was very long. Finally, everything stopped and the first volume of the God's eye secret skill appeared. Just the first volume alone took such a long time to appear. If one's willpower hadn't broken through the limit of a true god, I'm afraid one wouldn't even be able to read the first volume, Luo Feng sighed. Just as the first volume appeared, Luo Feng suddenly saw words appearing on the belly of another ice mountain, God's eye secret skill second volume. Luo Feng was elated and he immediately memorized it. A complete secret skill was naturally divided into many volumes. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:16. Large amounts of words constantly appeared within the ice mountain. The transparent ice mountain, Luo Feng was able to see the new contents with a glance. God Eye's second scroll complete. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. After a while, it's here again. Luo Feng immediately turned and looked at the distant ice mountain. With a glance, he could see that within the transparent ice mountain, large amounts of words began to madly appear. It was the third scroll of the God Eye. The words continued to appear. The Black Mist leader looked at the screen in the center of the palace. This is already the third scroll. Soon, Wu. The third scroll is already complete. Soldier Een he has already finished the third scroll. Compared to the soldiers of the past, he is already the best of all the elite soldiers. The God Eye has a total of 9 scrolls. I wonder which one he has learned. His Majesty, he wouldn't have placed all 9 scrolls, right? The tall and sturdy leader asked curiously. Who knows, the highest elite soldier before us only learned the third scroll. Just how many scrolls did he place on the 7th level, who knows? The other leaders shook their heads. One had to know. Although the 4 great commanders were all titled powerhouses, even they did not have all 9 scrolls of the God's Eye secret skill. After all, to a superpower, such an important technique gets more and more important in the later stages. They would only teach it to their subordinates according to their contributions. The 4th scroll. It's already the 4th scroll. The willpower attack should be extremely strong now. This soldier Een he doesn't seem to feel much. Maybe he can comprehend even more. The 4 leaders were curious too. Just how much could this soldier Een he learn? Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. He had finally finished the 4th scroll. Every scroll of the God Eye technique was extremely long. Just the continuous appearance of the words required quite a while. He was afraid his willpower wouldn't be able to handle it at the crucial moment. The 5th scroll. Luo Feng looked at the other ice mountain. That transparent ice mountain too had large amounts of words appearing. It was the 5th scroll of the God Eye technique. The moment 1/3 of the 5th scroll appeared, Luo Feng's expression changed. Not good. Luo Feng looked up at the God Eye in mid-air. The blurry golden light enveloped the area below. The willpower attack was constantly getting stronger. What a strong willpower attack! Luo Feng was anxious. I am already feeling extremely pressured. At that moment, the willpower impact should be that of a middle or late stage void real god. Luo Feng continued to stare at the far side of the ice mountain. Words continued to appear on the mountain. No matter what, Luo Feng definitely didn't want his willpower to crumble before he even finished reading one scroll. Oppression. An even more powerful pressure. It was like a formless mountain was pressing down on his willpower, and it was constantly getting stronger, making Luo Feng feel like his thinking speed was slowing down. The fifth volume, hurry, hurry, hurry. Luo Feng was anxious. Another 15 seconds passed. The contents of the fifth scroll appeared. As soon as the fifth volume of the God Eye secret technique ended, a new volume appeared in the belly of another iceberg. The sixth volume. Luo Feng too felt the God Eye technique appearing faster and faster. To be precise, from the first to the sixth volume, the speed seemed slow at the beginning, but it gradually sped up. Ah! The terrifying willpower impact caused Luo Feng's face to turn pale. His entire body trembled as he continued to stare at the distant ice mountain, constantly memorizing the contents of the sixth volume of the God Eye technique. Rumble, Luo Feng felt his willpower tremble. His entire body couldn't help but go limp and kneel on the ground. No. Luo Feng knew he had already reached his limit. If he was training his willpower in the inheritance space, he would normally faint if he went any further. Definitely not. However, this time Luo Feng wanted to see more of the God Eye technique. I definitely can't fall. At least the sixth volume, I have to at least finish the sixth volume. Luo Feng howled within. At this moment, every second was so hard to bear. Every second felt like an epoch. It made Luo Feng feel, why were the words appearing so slowly? I have to finish. I have to. At this time, Luo Feng only had one thought. He had to at least finish the sixth volume. He had to. Luo Feng felt his willpower crumble. However, he persevered and stared into the distance. Why were the words appearing so slowly? Why didn't they all appear at once? It was ridiculously slow. Finally, the contents of the sixth volume of the God Eye technique had all appeared. It was complete. At the same time, in another ice mountain, the seventh volume of the God Eye technique appeared. However, when he reached the end of the sixth volume, Luo Feng couldn't take it any longer and fell into darkness. He didn't even see the seventh volume appear. Rumble! A beam of light descended from the sky and enveloped the unconscious Luo Feng. Hence, Luo Feng left the seventh level. The four leaders were silent within the shrine. They stared hard at the screen. The scene of the seventh level made them hold their breath. At the crucial moment, the God Eye technique appeared faster and faster. There wasn't any gap between each volume. If one held on for a while longer, they might be able to finish one more volume. From this, one could deduce, to an overlord, the closer one was to the limit, the harder it was to progress. Hence, at the end, the God Eye technique would appear so quickly. The fifth volume is done. The sixth volume is done too. Officer Yin He has fallen. Seeing Luo Feng vanish from the screen. Only then did the four leaders let out a sigh of relief. Sixth volume. It's a pity that when the seventh volume began to appear, he immediately fell. However, when the seventh volume appeared, it was still blurry. We can't even see it. It's normal that we can't see the seventh volume. After all, the God Emperor only taught us the first 6 volumes. This officer Yin he's just an overlord and he's able to acquire the 6th volume. He's much stronger than us. The 4 leaders spoke amongst themselves, occasionally looking at the screen. However, the screen was empty, there was nothing. Keep it, the tall and sturdy leader said. The Black Mist leader replied. Following which, the floating screen in the center of the shrine vanished. After all, even the 4 great commanders couldn't see the 8th and 9th floors of the Wu's Awakening Tower. So what was happening in the Wu's Awakening Tower? What was the difficulty of the 8th floor? What was the great secret of the 9th floor? They didn't know what His Majesty had left behind. Wait. We can only wait. If that officer he really succeeds in acquiring the inheritance, then the titled mission will automatically disappear. There was only one Wu Qi god. There was only one titled mission for the overlords. The moment someone succeeds, the mission would disappear and never appear again. Can this officer succeed or not? The Black Mist leader was worried. The only officer who entered the 8th level before failed too. After he failed, we asked him, but he had no memories of the 8th level at all. The 8th level definitely has a huge secret. Otherwise, the God Emperor wouldn't use such a method to erase his memories. The silver-armored lady leader said. Let's wait. The 4 leaders were indeed filled with endless curiosity. Born in the Gene world, they were naturally completely loyal to the God Emperor. With a single order from him, even if he wanted them to die, they wouldn't hesitate at all. However, they were curious too. They had been in the God Emperor Valley for so long. Protecting was just a facade. Finding the absolute beings that the God Emperor needed was their true purpose. If His Majesty the Divine King desired it so much, then what were the 8th and 9th floors of the Awakening Crows building? Luo Feng felt the time and space warp, and he immediately arrived at the 8th level. 8th level of the building. After Luo Feng appeared, he was still immersed in the 7th level. Breaking through willpower is indeed difficult. On the 7th level, my willpower improved a little. I estimate that my willpower has reached the pinnacle of the Void True God level. I'm not far from the limit. 6 scrolls. God, I've obtained 6 scrolls. Like Annihilation, only the first 3 scrolls are suitable for true gods. The contents of these 6 scrolls are enough for me to train for a long time. Luo Feng was very satisfied, because the God Eye technique was something that even the Duandong River sect didn't have. It was probably a powerful technique that the Gene superpower didn't pass to outsiders. Now I'm on the 8th level, which is also the last hurdle of the building. It's the final obstacle to me reaching the top. Luo Feng looked around. This was a vast void. In the distance there was a small floating continent. The continent was small. With Luo Feng's divine body, he could probably walk 100 steps. In the endless void there was only that small continent. Luo Feng naturally became a beam of light and flew towards that small continent. It didn't look far, but flying took up a lot of time. Also, the space around seemed to be suppressed by something. He couldn't teleport at all. This building has a huge secret. This title character isn't normal. And no one has succeeded over the countless years. Such a huge secret. What would be the final obstacle? Luo Feng was curious and worried. How could the final obstacle be simple when it involved such a huge secret? 8th level. This was the final obstacle. Everything was on the small continent in front of them. So, after flying for a while, Luo Feng finally landed on that small floating continent. Looking around, the entire continent was bare. There were no objects. However, there were many ancient words on the surface of the continent. HM? Luo Feng looked over. The words were simple. The 8th level of the building is the final obstacle of the titled mission. Observe the surrounding space and you can learn a technique. If I can master it, I'll be able to enter the 9th floor of the Awakening Crow Tower. If you fail, your memory will be erased and you will leave the building. After Luo Feng finished reading the words, the ancient words on the continent all vanished. Luo Feng looked up at the surrounding space. Indeed, huge words began to appear in all directions. Every word was like a star connected to each other. Countless words, almost like a picture scroll. There were no pauses or breaks, and all the words were connected. It was hard to tell which word was the beginning and which was the end. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Qidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:17. Luo Feng stood on the floating little continent, surveying his surroundings. Observing the surrounding space allows me to learn a technique. Once I master it, I'll enter the 9th level? If I fail, I'll erase my memories and leave the awakened crow building? Luo Feng frowned. The temptation of entering the 9th level was huge. However, the countless floating words before him made him confused. He didn't know what to do. With a glance, it was like a sky full of stars. Every word was a star, and they were all connected. As they were all gathered together, it was impossible to tell where the beginning and the end of the technique was. He didn't even know how to explain it. To train the technique, I have to first sort out the entire contents? Luo Feng looked at the countless words floating in space. However, I don't understand it at all. How do I explain it? If I can't even explain it, how do I train? Luo Feng was troubled. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, 9 days had passed. Just how do I train? Luo Feng looked at the words. Every single character was emitting light, sometimes strong, sometimes weak. Countless words, it was almost like a huge picture scroll was displayed before Luo Feng. However, he just couldn't understand it. It wasn't that he hadn't studied the glowing words, but he still couldn't understand them. Don't tell me I have to stop at the 8th level? Luo Feng wasn't satisfied. However, this huge picture scroll's countless words were indeed like a heavenly book. 1. All of a sudden, Luo Feng, who had been studying the words on the scroll, suddenly felt all the words on the huge scroll light up. In an instant, his consciousness was sucked into the scroll. Just like using the virtual universe sensor, his consciousness entered the virtual universe. At this time, Luo Feng's consciousness entered the scroll. Luo Feng stood on the floating land and didn't move. In the distant circular picture scroll, the starry words glowed brightly. They flickered with a special rhythm. Hua! A blurry silhouette appeared in space. He was dressed in a luxurious royal robe, on it revolved a dark glow. His silhouette was blurry as he stood in mid-air. As he stood there, it was almost as though the entire 8th level world was centered around him, an absolute nobility emanated from him. He was looking at the distant continent where Luo Feng stood stunned. This is already the second one. The black figure sighed softly. The previous consciousness entered the painting world and quickly failed. I wonder if this one will work. Maybe I'm too delusional. Although the realm of Jin is vast and boundless, it's still unrealistic for it to give birth to a peerless figure who can cultivate this secret art. However, apart from this, what else could I do? What else could I do? My true body has been destroyed. I have no other choice, no other choice. The black figure sighed softly. With countless lives, there will eventually be a miracle. The black silhouette looked at the distant Luo Feng with anticipation. Luo Fengsha stood there in a daze. His consciousness had already entered the world of the painting. In the world inside the scroll, Luo Feng could only feel his consciousness being sucked in, as though he had entered the virtual universe. His vision blurred, and he arrived before a majestic palace that was emitting a faint purple light. This palace was constructed at the peak of an endless mountain. Luo Feng looked over. The majestic palace seemed to be shrouded in mist. It was blurry and indistinct. Just looking at it made him feel a strong pressure. Luo Feng turned and looked into the distance. The mountain range he was in was endless. He couldn't see the end at all. Just what is this place? I was looking at those void words earlier and my consciousness was forcefully pulled in? Luo Feng felt more and more mysterious. Just how strong was his willpower? The ring-shaped scroll formed by the void runes forcefully dragged his consciousness towards it. Come in! Come in! Come in! This majestic palace that was emitting a faint purple light emitted waves of calls, causing Luo Feng to be momentarily dazed. Just like that, he stupidly walked towards the door and into the depths of the palace. Luo Feng was shocked and immediately looked around. I'm in the palace? I was controlled without any warning. This difference is too huge. This was an extremely beautiful palace, The sides of the palace had exquisite pillars, on the pillars were carvings of pictures, the distant walls had some decorations too. All of this emitted a strong pressure. Luo Feng wanted to see clearly, but he still couldn't see anything. Even the ground beneath his feet couldn't be seen clearly. It was like looking at a flower in the mist. Rumble! The entire palace suddenly shook violently. Luo Feng immediately turned around, only to see a strange beast appear out of thin air in the great hall. This strange beast was covered in black scales, its body resembling a lion, and there was a curved purple horn on its forehead. Its eyes glowed with a purple light, and as it walked in the great hall trembled. "You are..." Luo Feng looked at this beast. "I am the technique itself," the purple-horned beast said proudly. Luo Feng was stunned. The technique itself? What, even weapons have spirits, how can this technique not have a spirit? The purple-horned beast sneered. Luo Feng was shocked, following which he was overjoyed. My God! Secret technique spirit? Any other soldier in the Jin world wouldn't even understand the meaning of the secret technique spirit. However, Luo Feng had the inheritance of Duandong River. He knew of the ancient civilization. Naturally, he understood what the secret technique spirit was. In the ancient civilization, only a few incomparably powerful absolute beings, standing at the pinnacle of the ancient civilization, would spend a lot of effort to create a secret technique treasure for the sake of choosing a suitable inheritor for the technique they were so proud of, causing the technique to contain a spirit. The fusion of the technique into a spirit was extremely demanding. Within Duandong River, only the third-generation founder could do it. The other inheritors couldn't do it. The secret technique had a spirit, it would naturally choose the most suitable master. If other warriors tried to use their strength to forcefully obtain this technique, they would only fail, and the secret technique treasure couldn't recognize a master. Even killing the spirit was impossible. After all, only the master could easily kill the treasure's spirit, or in other words, when an absolute warrior destroyed the treasure, naturally he could destroy the treasure's spirit. However, to be able to create a secret technique treasure, which one wasn't an absolute being of the ancient civilization, just like the third-generation founder's secret technique spirit, even the third-generation founder himself, if he didn't recognize the master, he wouldn't be able to destroy the treasure he created. Hence, this level of secret technique spirit was hard to destroy. However, to obtain the secret technique that those pinnacle beings were so proud of was even harder. Just what kind of technique is this to actually create a secret technique spirit? Don't tell me this was done by His Majesty the God Emperor? Luo Feng thought, even within my Duandong River, only the third-generation founder could do this. Against this purple-horned beast, Luo Feng listened obediently. After all, even the third-generation founder couldn't use force. Everything had to follow the Creator's rules. You were able to enter the picture world, you have some foundation. The purple-horned beast said, however, whether or not you can obtain this technique will depend on your strength. Watch carefully. The purple-horned beast's horn suddenly shot out 4 beams of light. Rumble! 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 The 4 beams of light struck at 4 different areas of the palace. Immediately a huge scroll appeared on the 4 walls of the palace. The scrolls rolled down, on them were countless words. Only 3 of the scrolls had countless words that couldn't be read clearly. Only one of the scrolls, which meant that the words on the scroll in mid-air were incomparably clear, allowing Luo Feng to finish reading it. These 4 large scrolls, the purple-horned beast said, the one before you, is also the only one you can read clearly, is the entire technique, the guidance technique. Guidance technique? Luo Feng nodded. Guidance technique. The pinnacle beings of the ancient civilization, it wasn't easy for them to find an inheritor. If they were killed while they were growing, it would be fine. However, if they were killed and their memories were searched, causing the ultimate technique they were so proud of to leak out, that would be troublesome. Hence they would make many defensive measures. Like the broken East River's inheritance imprint, Due to the restrictions of the imprint, Luo Feng couldn't leak it out. Even if he were killed and his memories were searched, the imprint would crumble and destroy everything, making it impossible for the enemy to find it. Of course, many large powers, like the Gene God Emperor, when they passed it down to their underlings, as they got stronger, they would gradually pass it down even more profound. The stronger the underling, the harder it was to have their memories searched. It wasn't a true inheritance, nor was it passed down to their underlings. Instead, they would use the secret technique spirit to search for a successor. Normally, they would use the secret technique of receiving guidance. Once the secret technique of receiving guidance was mastered, they would be able to receive the truly powerful secret technique. Even if their memories were searched, under the influence of the secret technique of receiving guidance, they would not be able to find out the true secret technique. The guidance technique, other than a protection technique, normally also had the ability to select a suitable inheritor. This technique had many difficulties. Only those who met the requirements could master it. Mastering the receiving guidance mystic technique naturally meant that he could learn this mystic technique, and he could also receive guidance in passing. Everything was successful. The stronger the technique, even Void True God, Eternal True God, or even higher have to learn it. Luo Feng thought, I'm just an overlord, I definitely can't complete this technique. If I can complete it, it means this technique has no value at all. Then, the meaning of the 8th level. I'm afraid it's to master the guidance technique, and then completely absorb the powerful technique into my soul. After memorizing it, it means I've succeeded. If I haven't mastered it, I'm afraid I've failed. Luo Feng quickly understood the true meaning of the 8th level. After mastering the guiding attraction mystic art and obtaining the complete mystic art, one could enter the 9th floor of the Wu Qi building. This was the final hurdle. This guidance technique should be very difficult, otherwise there wouldn't be so many hurdles at the start. And no one in the Gene world has ever succeeded. Luo Feng began to carefully study the scroll floating in front of the door. The purple-horned beast beside him was still speaking. The requirements for this technique are very strict. It's best for the cultivator to be an overlord. The highest is a true god. If one's strength is any higher, there's no chance of success. The second chapter came to an end. Tomato continued writing the third chapter, and continued asking for votes. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:18. Luo Feng focused on the scroll that recorded the absorption technique. There were countless words on it, and with Luo Feng's memory, he instantly memorized them all. Absorption. Luo Feng pondered and studied the contents of the technique, trying his best to understand more and prepare for his training. As the saying goes, sharpening one's knife wouldn't delay the work of cutting firewood. The more crucial the time, the more he couldn't rush. This absorption technique's requirements are extremely high. The purple-horned beast said proudly, Ever since I was created by Master, countless absolute geniuses have tried to obtain it, however no one has succeeded. Luo Feng was shocked within, glancing at the purple-horned beast beside him. Countless geniuses? For Wu Qi Lu to be able to make it to the 8th level, he shouldn't be considered countless geniuses. As for you, you'll probably fail too. The purple-horned beast glanced at Luo Feng. Luo Feng focused on the scroll, simultaneously pondering and analyzing. Very quickly, he understood the detailed steps of the training. The moment he understood, he immediately began to train. This made the purple-horned beast beside him shocked. That's straightforward, training right away. However, he'll probably still fail. The purple-horned beast's 4 hooves bent and laid within the palace. It drooped its head and waited beside, waiting for Luo Feng to fail and send him out. With this training, Luo Feng's entire body and consciousness couldn't help but immerse within. In an instant, his earth body, golden-horned beast, Masha clansman and endless dark ocean all began to train. Hua, Primal universe, human domain, primal region. The vast, endless, tranquil sea suddenly calmed down. There was a faint white light flickering in every corner of the sea like white electric sparks. White light flickered everywhere, and at the same time, an even stronger willpower impact was released outwards. Wave after wave of willpower impact spread out in all directions. A few of the Undyings and Sector Lords within the universe ships flying above the endless dark ocean could only feel the terrifying willpower waves sweeping over. Rumble. They immediately fainted. The endless dark ocean was extremely vast, and it was the most important area of the primal region. Many of the universe lords from the Great Alliance were here. With the willpower attack from the endless dark ocean, large amounts of Sector Lords, Undyings and even Knights fainted. This too shocked many of the warriors in the primal region. Milky Way leader's ocean body, what's wrong? Why are there dots of white light everywhere? Furthermore, the impact of his will was simply too terrifying. Even universe supremacies couldn't withstand it at all. What a powerful willpower attack. Even I feel strained. One by one, the universe lords of the Hong Alliance appeared at the edge of the endless underworld sea, looking at it. Several human race masters of the universe also appeared. Why would there suddenly be a will attack? The Ice Peak leader frowned. I don't know. It just happened all of a sudden. Beside, one of the foreign race leaders from the Great Alliance obviously lowered his head. The Ice Peak leader had received the ancient civilization's guidance from Luo Feng and quickly reached level 5. On top of that, the Ice Peak Lord's divine power ignition secret technique was known to the public. Flickering white light is appearing everywhere in the endless tranquil sea. Moreover, a powerful will attack is spreading out. Even universe supremacies are unable to withstand it. Everyone was shocked. No one knew what had happened. He could only guess. Milky Way Lord is in the gene realm. Could it be that he had some fortuitous encounter there and obtained some powerful secret art? Many of the universe lords from the Hong Alliance speculated. Wah! A silhouette appeared, emitting endless pressure. It was the primal Chaos City leader. As the strongest warrior in the universe, the moment he appeared, everyone around him expressed their respect. Send the order. The primal Chaos City leader ordered. Protect all those who have fainted and bring them away. And forbid any warriors from entering the endless tranquil sea. Yes. Yes. Immediately, 8 universe lords obeyed and immediately went to make arrangements. The primal Chaos City leader stared at the endless tranquil sea. His eyes flashed with worry, but he quickly buried it deep within. Luo Feng, just what happened to you? I communicated with you, and you didn't respond at all. How did it form such a powerful willpower attack? Worry. The primal Chaos City leader was incredibly worried. Not just the primal region, even the Milky Way sacred land was affected by the willpower attack. Gene Realm, 8th level of the Awakened Crow Tower. Standing on the floating land, Luo Feng didn't move at all. His entire body glowed with white light as he emitted waves of willpower attack. Every bit of God energy in his body was covered with white engravings, permeating into every bit of his life force. This was a test of the soul, the most basic test. And in this test, Luo Feng's willpower naturally began to merge with his God body. A normal warrior's willpower was like a rootless weed. The moment he died, even if he had a God body, it wouldn't produce such a terrifying willpower attack. And Luo Feng's willpower was gradually merging with every bit of God energy. Then the willpower would have a root. Only then could the willpower techniques be unleashed. This was the prerequisite for the God Eye technique and other willpower technique. Such a warrior, even if he died, every drop of blood, hair or tooth would contain an extremely powerful willpower. This process was very slow. After more than 900 years, the white light on the surface of Luo Feng's body suddenly turned into blue light. Rumble! The willpower attack of the endless tranquil sea actually exploded once more. This caused the expressions of the universe lords from the Great Alliance to change greatly. Only a few with stronger willpower could easily withstand it. And the normal universe lords could only barely withstand it. What's going on? The willpower attack is getting stronger. Within the space of the 8th level of the Enlightenment building, dressed in a luxurious robe and surrounded by a black light, the silhouette looked at the distant floating continent where Luo Feng stood. He's already entered the 2nd stage. The black light silhouette trembled, his eyes filled with excitement. My gene world actually managed to produce such a genius. Back when this picture scroll was spread outside the various powers, who knows how many geniuses had the chance to enter. However, only a very few managed to enter the 2nd stage. Don't tell me he'll actually succeed? Definitely, the black light silhouette's eyes were filled with worry, anxiety and anticipation. Within the picture scroll world, the purple-horned beast that was originally laying there with its head drooped looked shocked at Luo Feng, who was training. He actually entered the 2nd stage. There's a total of 3 stages in the guidance technique, and he actually managed to enter the 2nd. Ever since I was born, I don't know how many geniuses from the various powers have entered. Of those geniuses, some received extremely valuable inheritances, some were nurtured endlessly from birth. However, to be able to endure it and enter the 2nd stage, there were less than 50. This punk, where did he come from? Is he an absolute genius nurtured by the Gene God Emperor? Time passed day by day. Luo Feng didn't know at all that he had already caused a huge commotion. Pain. Torture. Hell. Luo Feng felt this way. After training, he knew that the guidance technique was split into 3 stages. The 1st stage was still fine and easy. However, from the 2nd stage onwards, his life imprint would suffer the cruelest treatment. It was as though countless needles were piercing his life imprint over and over again, as though countless scalding marks were imprinted on it. In terms of pain, it wasn't any less than when he recognized the Star Pagoda back then. Luckily, the current Luo Feng was much stronger than back then. He could still endure the pain from the life imprint. However, enduring was one thing, whether or not the life imprint could withstand it was another. Even the pain from the life imprint breaking was something Luo Feng could endure. However, the moment it broke, he would die. Don't tell me there's a risk of dying while training in this technique? Luo Feng's heart tightened. However, he was already in the training process, there was no way to retreat. It's already the 2nd stage. The purple-horned beast was filled with anticipation. As long as I can enter the 3rd stage, that'll be great. Ever since I was captured by the Gene God Emperor under him, there hasn't even been a single person who has entered the 2nd stage. Punk! Work hard, you have to enter the 3rd stage. The moment you enter the 3rd stage, if you fail, you'll naturally die. However, if you succeed, at least in the Gene country, you'll be second only to your God Emperor. The purple-horned beast was filled with anticipation. Its life's destiny was to find a suitable inheritor. Of course, the moment it found a suitable inheritor, that would be the moment the technique's spirit dissipates. However, it didn't care. From the day it was born, it had been chasing after that most glorious moment. Within the 8th level of the tower, the black silhouette was staring at Luo Feng. You have to enter the 3rd stage. Only then will there be hope. However, even with all the powers added together, there are only 10 absolute geniuses who have entered the 3rd stage. However, of those 10, other than 3 who survived, the rest have all fallen. This guidance technique, the 1st and 2nd stages didn't have any life-threatening danger. However, the moment it reached the 3rd stage, it was the final moment. If you don't succeed, you die. If you fail, you die. Of course, the ancient civilization had many life-saving methods. Many of the absolute geniuses from the various powers had all failed at the 3rd stage. However, there were still 3 who survived. However, my body has already been destroyed. I have no way of protecting your life. You'll have to thank me if you survive the 3rd stage. I can't. The black silhouette shook his head. Primal Universe Human Territories Primal Region. In the endless dark ocean, there were specks of blue light everywhere. After 300 years, rumble, all the specks of blue light had become countless purple lights, and these countless purple lights seemed to be connected to each other, forming an incredibly vast and mysterious ancient diagram. Rumble! The endless dark ocean's willpower surge once again rose. Ah! Some of the universe lords from the Hong Alliance, who had been standing guard, fainted one by one. Only 2 universe lords remained conscious. This was the 3rd stage. The difference in votes was even greater. Tomato continued to write the 4th stage. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 14:19. The human camp was shaken. The Milky Way leader's willpower attack didn't differentiate friend from foe. Of the 39 universe lords guarding the endless dark ocean, 37 fainted on the spot. Only the Void Gold Lord and the Mending Luan Lord remained conscious, as these 2 had reached the strongest level of willpower in the universe. The entire Great Alliance was shaken, and this was just a scattered scene. If they were to gather and attack, how terrifying would that be? Doesn't that mean that the Milky Way leader's willpower attack alone can wipe out almost all universe lords? Even the strongest in the universe, if their willpower is weak, they'll suffer. The upper echelon of the Great Alliance was shocked. The Primal Chaos City leader gave a strict order. Our Great Alliance forbids any information from spreading. Only the universe lords of our Great Alliance know the details. If it spreads, it'll be a crime of defecting to the enemy. Milky Way Sacred Land, Primal Region, security was immediately tight. Even though many sector lords and undyings had fainted, they didn't know how terrifying Luo Feng's willpower attack was. Luo Feng, no matter what, he has to return alive. The Primal Chaos City leader stood far away in the endless dark ocean, watching from afar, thinking within. Primal Chaos City understood. Such a powerful technique, how could it be so easy to obtain? Just from the fact that Luo Feng had no contact with the outside world, it was obvious. Luo Feng was in an extremely dangerous situation. Gene World, 8th level of the Awakened Crow Building. Luo Feng's body was filled with purple light, every bit of his god energy had a huge purple picture infused into it. Rumble. Waves of willpower attacks spread in all directions. 3rd stage. He's already in the 3rd stage. Before coming to the world of Gene, I was the only one who came to the 8th floor of the Tower of Awakening, and I failed as soon as I tried. I didn't expect a miracle to happen in the world of Gene, for a Law Lord to enter the 3rd stage. Just one more step and I'll succeed. The moment I succeed, haha. I've waited for so long, just for this moment. The black light figure couldn't hide his excitement. However, he was nervous too. I can't fail. It's the final stage, I can't fail. If I fail, a miracle happened once, will there be a second one? He had long understood that the life forms in Gene World had a 0% chance of success. The so-called titled mission was simply a dream, hoping for a miracle to happen, and now, a miracle had actually happened. The ancient civilizations, the large powers, who knew how many geniuses had never succeeded. Even he sighed. It was a miracle! Inside the painting scroll world, the purple-horned beast looked nervously at Luo Feng. It could tell that this Law Lord had experienced a terrifying nightmare. This is my bottom line. The ultimate art I created has high requirements for your soul. This is my bottom line. If you can't reach this bottom line, only death awaits you, little fellow. The purple-horned beast was nervous and anxious. You have to persevere. You have to persevere. As long as you hold on, then you will enter a brand new world. Time flew by. During the process of training the guidance technique, especially after entering the 3rd stage, Luo Feng felt as though his soul was about to be destroyed. However, when he couldn't hold on any longer, his soul would transform. In the third stage, every time he reached his limit, his soul would quickly adapt. Don't tell me, I'm naturally suited for this technique? Luo Feng couldn't help but have this thought in his mind. Just like the Star Pagoda's recognition of Master and the resistance against the Divine Eye's willpower earlier, he had relied on his willpower to fight. However, training this guidance technique didn't have much to do with willpower. After all, amongst the absolute geniuses of the ancient civilizations, during the Origin Law Lord stage, there were even those with willpower that reached the eternal true God level. However, they still failed, because this guidance technique only had a small requirement for willpower. Most of it was for the soul itself. Luo Feng's soul was squeezed to its limit. However, under this guidance technique, it swiftly adapted, causing the initial pain of his soul shattering to slowly become comfortable and comfortable. Comfortable. Luo Feng actually liked the feeling of training the third stage. Luo Feng had trained the third stage for close to 90 years before finally succeeding. Phew! Luo Feng opened his eyes. Smiling, he was incredibly relaxed. Before him was the purple-horned beast. Its huge face was right before his eyes. Luo Feng was shocked the moment he opened his eyes. Spirit of the technique, this is. Luo Feng couldn't help but take 2 steps back, widening the distance. The purple-horned beast stared intently at Luo Feng. It muttered, I'm watching. I want to see just where did this overlord come from to actually succeed. However, congratulations. You have the right to train in my master's technique. The purple-horned beast said proudly. Who is your master? Luo Feng couldn't help but ask. The godly emperor of the Jin world? It didn't seem like it. Humph, I heard it clearly. Even though my master doesn't recognize you. The purple-horned beast said, however he did pass on the technique to me. You have to remember my master's name. My master is called Yuan. He's a truly free and unfettered being that isn't bound by any power. Yuan? Luo Feng quietly memorized this name. Alright, you've trained in the guidance technique. You've met the requirements. Naturally, you have the right to receive my master's great technique. The purple-horned beast exclaimed. After living for so long, you can finally return to the technique itself. Immediately the entire purple-horned beast disintegrated, becoming specks of starlight that rushed straight into Luo Feng's consciousness. In an instant, a sea of information flooded in. Within the 8th level of the awakened crow building, the black silhouette watched nervously and expectantly. This nervousness lasted for close to 90 years, until the light around Luo Feng's body dissipated. Especially when the countless star characters that were originally revolving in space rushed madly towards Luo Feng and entered his body, only then did he let out a sigh of relief, revealing a satisfied smile. My existence has value. The black silhouette smiled and immediately dissipated. In this space, only Luo Feng was left floating on the land. Luo Feng stood there without moving. After a long while, he slowly opened his eyes. 8th level world. Luo Feng surveyed his surroundings. There were no more words in the surrounding space. After knowing the detailed information about the technique, Luo Feng understood that the words had already entered his body. Yuan? Luo Feng recalled the information he just received about the technique. He couldn't help but respect this being. This powerful mystic technique was called the elemental arrangement technique. It seemed ordinary, but it was actually the true ultimate technique of the ancient civilization. Furthermore, the elemental arrangement technique was also a willpower mystic technique, but it was very different from the God's Eye mystic technique. The God Eye technique could be trained as long as one's willpower reached the void true God level. Luo Feng could train it now. However, the Yuan array technique required one's willpower to become holy. Accurately speaking, the God Eye technique was considered a low-level technique. It was extremely useful for true gods, void true gods and eternal true gods. The essence arrangement art was enough to make the God King and other super-existences go crazy. This was a heaven-defying art. For example, if His Majesty the Gene God King succeeded in cultivating the essence arrangement art, his strength would skyrocket and he would be able to suppress many other forces. This was a technique that completely affected the power structure. However, it was created by a Yuan who had no intentions of fighting for power. This technique had long caused countless battles and wars in the ancient civilization. Even though the Gene Godly King had it, he himself was unable to train it. He tried his best to get the geniuses under him to try. However, they all failed until Luofeng appeared. Rumble! A beam of light descended from space and enveloped Luofeng. Luofeng disappeared from the 8th level of the awakened crow building. Reaching the 9th level was considered a success. One could obtain the awakened crow god and receive a title. Luofeng stood in a quiet square courtyard. There were ancient carvings on the walls. It had the unique style of the Gene world. This is the 9th level of the awakened crow building? Luofeng's eyes gleamed. Other than the title and the awakened crow god, Luofeng really wanted to know the secret of everything hidden at the end. Come in. A voice resounded from the quiet residence. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1420. Luofeng followed the ancient and solemn path. This path was formed from many huge square stone slabs. Every stone had a different carving on it. No two carvings were the same. Every one was perfect. If Luofeng lowered his head to look, he couldn't help but be captivated. The seemingly normal path and walls were actually filled with luxuries. Turning a corner, he saw a door. It was open. Luofeng glanced through the door. Inside, he saw the messy mechanical parts, weapon parts, etc. Luofeng walked to the door and saw a man dressed in a luxurious robe. He was focused on the different mechanical parts beside him. The luxurious robe man turned and looked at Luofeng. He couldn't help but smile. Since you're here, take a seat. Before him, there was indeed an exquisite black throne. Luofeng didn't say much and obediently sat down. Since the godly emperor created the awakened crows building and set up so many difficulties, even making the countless elite soldiers of Gene world rush over, there had to be a reason. This man. Luofeng looked carefully. Weird. Even the last Duandong he's consciousness had some sort of pressure. Why doesn't he have any pressure at all? Just like when he was a kid meeting a neighbor grandpa on the road. Facing this man, he couldn't help but feel a sense of familiarity. There was no fear, only a sense of ease. Powerful. Luofeng was shocked within. Even with my willpower, I can't help but feel good about him. I'm sure you're curious. The luxurious robe man looked at Luofeng. Just why did the godly emperor create this awakened crows building and set up so many difficulties? I'll tell you now. Firstly, I'll tell you my identity. I am the godly emperor of Gene world. Luofeng was shocked. His Majesty? Even though he had some guesses, he still couldn't believe it. This ordinary-looking old man on Earth was actually the godly emperor? Accurately speaking, I'm the consciousness left behind by the godly emperor after he died. The luxurious robe man looked at Luofeng. Consciousness? Luofeng was shocked within. Just as he guessed, the godly emperor was really dead. You don't seem too surprised. The luxurious robe man looked at Luofeng. Nothing out of your expectations? Although I was observing you from afar before, I didn't notice anything else. But now I know that you are not a being of the Gene realm. Luofeng was shocked within, almost wanting to self-destruct. However, on the surface, Luofeng was still calm. It's not that I'm not shocked, it's just that everything you've said is too unbelievable. That's why I've been skeptical. You say that you are the God King, and you say that you are the virtual consciousness left behind by the God King after he died. The great God King is very far away from me, and how could the great God King die? Also, what do you mean by I'm not from the Gene realm? Haha, The man in the luxurious robe laughed. He laughed very happily. There's no need to be vigilant. There's no need to worry. The man laughed. I'll explain it to you in detail, and you'll understand. Luo Feng listened carefully. Back then, there was a trace of reminiscence in the man's eyes. It was a long, long time ago. I chose a path that was close to certain death, so before I left, I created the Tower of Awakening in the realm of Jin and left behind this titled mission. If I fail, I might have a chance to turn things around. I left. However, I left behind a virtual consciousness here. This virtual consciousness has my memories and thoughts, only it's not considered a true life form. Of course, I am this virtual consciousness. Subconsciously, I still think of myself as the God King. Luo Feng nodded to express his understanding. After all, this virtual consciousness had all the memories and thoughts of the God King. As for what dangers the God King faced after leaving, I don't know. After all, I have no way of contacting him. The man exclaimed. Only through my understanding of the realm of Jin, I found out one day that the God King had fallen. The Tower of Awakening has a total of 9 levels. This 9th level is connected to the entire realm of Jin's universe core. The man said. I often head to the core of the realm of Jin. With the God King's fall, the core of the realm of Jin would naturally undergo a huge change. The man looked at Luo Feng. Also, the reason why I'm certain that you aren't a life form from the realm of Jin is because, when you entered the 9th level, the 9th level connected to the universe core didn't acknowledge you. The man said. If you were a life form from the realm of Jin, you would be a child of the realm of Jin. Naturally, you would be acknowledged, and you would be incomparably loyal to the God King, willing to die for him. Luo Feng understood. Just like the Lord of 9 Underworlds, the life forms created by the Lord of 9 Underworlds were also absolutely loyal to him. One theory. The life forms within the realm of Jin were also absolutely loyal to the God King. Just like the 4 leaders, the moment the God King ordered them to die, they wouldn't hesitate. Oh, since you already know, then what do you want to do? Luo Feng was cautious within. To kill him, with the man's ability, it was too easy. There was no need to waste words. For a God King to say so much to him, he definitely had a purpose. You only need to make an oath. The man laughed softly. In the future, when you become a strong warrior like the God King, you have to use all your strength to kill the other 3 pinnacle beings. Luo Feng was stunned. Oath? The ancient civilization naturally had many soul oaths. The moment one broke one's oath, one's soul would scatter and die. When I become a strong warrior like the God King, Luo Feng was shocked. I'm only an overlord right now. Hence you don't have to worry. The man shook his head. To you now, it's too far away. You can't help the realm of Jin at all. This is only a promise made after you become the God King. Don't worry. The moment you agree, there will naturally be benefits for you. If you reject, even if you choose to self-destruct, the moment you do so, I can destroy your soul. I know, the life forms from outside the realm of Jin, many have the ability to create clones. Luo Feng was shocked. Almost like, His Majesty the Divine King knew a lot. I know more than you can imagine. The man looked at Luo Feng. Make your choice. Do you agree or refuse me? Luo Feng laughed helplessly. Do I have a choice? What a joke. With a technique left behind by a God King, Luo Feng believed that even if he self-destructed, the moment he did so, his soul would be destroyed and all his clones would die. In that case, he would be dead for sure. What's more, this oath was only made after he became the God King. The God King was so far away. That was above the eternal true God. Even Luo Feng himself didn't know if he could train to that level. After all, according to his own deductions, the God King should be on par with the 3rd-generation ancestor. I have to confirm that your oath is true. After all, I'm just a virtual consciousness. If I'm deceived by you, The man in the luxurious robe smiled. Then, he pointed at the surroundings. Suddenly, runes of law began to appear in the air. In an instant, the surroundings fell into a huge cage made of law runes. Rumble. A green light enveloped Luo Feng. This way, I can know all the changes in your soul. The man smiled. If you're faking it, I too. The man stood up fiercely, his face filled with shock. Luo Feng was shocked. The man was shocked as he looked at Luo Feng. He was shocked. What about me? Luo Feng was curious. Ha ha ha, ha 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 ha. The man in the luxurious robe laughed heartily. He was laughing heartily. Luo Feng was even more curious. What was going on? Disperse. The man in the luxurious royal robe pointed at the sky, and the runes of laws that were originally formed and floating in the void dissipated. Your Majesty, didn't you want me to make an oath? Luo Feng was shocked. No need. The man smiled as he looked at Luo Feng. Because you've trained the 9 Tribulations manuals, naturally you don't have to make an oath. 9 Tribulations manuals. Luo Feng was shocked. He completely lost his composure. 9 Tribulations manuals? This was a manual that truly changed his fate. It was because of the 9 Tribulations manuals that his path as a strong warrior could reach such a level. If not for the 9 Tribulations manuals, he may have become a strong warrior too. However, he probably wouldn't have reached such a level. According to his teacher, the 9 Tribulations manuals were created by him. It could only be passed down to one person. Also, one had to be a human to train in it. What's going on? Luo Feng's mind seemed to explode. Countless thoughts flashed through. The 9 Tribulations manuals that only humans could train in. The manuals that only one person could train in. Even the manuals created by Mountain Passenger. Why did this God King know about it? Yes. He had long suspected that the 9 Tribulations manuals were simply too heaven-defying. Other true gods couldn't do it. Not just the true gods, even the Purple Moon Ancestor and the East Emperor Ancestor hadn't heard of such heaven-defying manuals. However, Mountain Passenger had created such a secret manual without anyone noticing. What's wrong with the 9 Tribulations manuals? Luo Feng asked. Haha, this 9 Tribulations manuals. The man in the luxurious royal robe laughed. It's one of the secret manuals of the Gene world. Training in it will not only allow one's divine body to transform rapidly, it will also greatly benefit the soul. It's a super secret manual that will definitely change one's perception and talent. Anyone who trains in the 9 Tribulations manuals is the true core of the Gene country. Since you've trained in the 9 Tribulations manuals, you're naturally part of the Gene country. When you rise in the future, even if you don't kill those 3, they'll still kill you. Tomato, who was coughing, reminded enthusiastically, there are only 2 hours left for the monthly pass. If you don't vote now, it'll expire and become invalid. And now, the competition for the monthly pass is at its climax. Tomato needs your vote, ***, to be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian. Come to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1421. No wonder Teacher Mountain Guest never contacted him after he entered the realm of Gene, nor did he ask about the situation in the realm of Gene, nor did he hear about Mountain Guest entering the realm of Gene. Everyone in the Cosmic Sea is curious about the realm of Gene. Primal Chaos City Leader and the other experts of the Hong Alliance are all curious. Many of them are asking me. But Teacher Sitting Mountain Passenger never asked. I've always wondered why a mere real god like Sitting Passenger was able to create the 9 Tribulations secret manual and refine the Star Tower. Luo Feng understood a little. Even though he still didn't fully understand the mysterious Mountain Guest, he at least understood that this Mountain Guest had something to do with the realm of Gene. The core of Gene Nation? The great Gene Nation had been destroyed, the Divine King had fallen, and a large number of super experts who had followed the divine king to battle had probably perished as well. There was no doubt that Mountain Guest was a true god. Then, Mountain Guest also received the inheritance like me? Obtaining the inheritance of His Majesty the Godly King, or one of the absolute warriors under the Godly King. Many thoughts flashed through Luo Feng's mind, after which he temporarily buried all his suspicions within. At the very least, he knew a little about Mountain Passenger. Many thoughts flashed through Luo Feng's mind, but he continued to converse normally with the Godly King. Your Majesty, who are the three pinnacle existences you mentioned? I have to know who they are first. Of course. The man in the luxurious royal robe said with a smile. These three are the three founding kings of another superpower, the barbaric Devour nation. The three founding leaders? Luo Feng nodded, following which he was curious, where are they now? Could it be that this country has already been destroyed? All the traces of an ancient civilization, he had discovered, were traces of destruction. Only the realm of Jin had survived. Destroyed? The luxurious robed man was startled. He looked pensive and sighed softly. That's right, it's been a long, long time. Perhaps the devouring nation has already been destroyed. Luo Feng couldn't help but ask, Your Majesty, if they are still alive, how will I find them in the future? The cosmic seas, it was too mysterious. No one had ever explored the edge of the cosmic sea. For example, the giant object that was suspected to be the corpse of His Majesty the Deity King had flown over from the faraway cosmic sea. In that case, could there be other existences in the faraway depths of the cosmic sea? Other terrifying forces? He did not know. To a true god, the cosmos sea was too vast and far. If one traveled too far, it would be easy to get lost. You want to find them? Don't worry. The man in the luxurious royal robe laughed. When you become truly powerful, all the secrets will gradually reveal themselves in front of you. As for whether or not the country of food was destroyed, I thought about it carefully just now. Even if the country of food was really destroyed, it's unlikely that all three founding rulers of the country of food died. Luo Feng nodded and remembered. Look. The man in the luxurious royal robe pointed to an empty space not far away, and a machine appeared out of thin air. This is... Luo Feng carefully looked at the machine before him, a streamlined body, a monkey-like body, and an agile tail. Just sitting there silently gave off an energy that made Luo Feng's heart palpitate. The man in the luxurious royal robe said proudly, This is the true god-level machine that I created, Wu Qi Shen. Even an expert can use it. Amongst the single true god-level machines, it is definitely one of the best, and it can display your strongest battle power. The only weakness is that it uses up your god energy very quickly. Right now your god body is already very big. However, you still have to be careful, don't recklessly unleash it. Otherwise, if you use up too much energy, it'll be very troublesome for your god body to recover. Luo Feng nodded, his eyes gleaming as he stared at the Wu Qi Shen before him. Replenish trouble? What a joke! He had the endless underworld ocean. You've completed the titled mission and become a titled warrior. You have the right to exchange for this Wu Qi Shen. This Wu Qi Shen belongs to you. The luxurious royal robe man said. It belongs to me, but the points. Luo Feng looked at the man. Wu Qi Shen, it required 30 million points to exchange for. Haha, any mission that is completed has a reward. The man in the luxurious royal robe laughed loudly. This titled mission is extremely difficult. I've set the reward to be 30 million points. Don't tell me you're not prepared to exchange for the Wu Qi Shen and exchange for other treasures? Naturally, that's up to you. Exchange, of course I'll exchange. Luo Feng said. It was actually like that. The reward of completing a titled mission was 30 million points. This was basically sending the Wu Qi Shen to the warrior who completed the titled mission. Wu Qi Shen. Luo Feng looked at the Wu Qi Shen before him. The universe sea is very turbulent right now, especially with the appearance of the fourth danger zone. The primal universe's willpower is even guiding it. Vast Thunder Star Lord before his death unleashed a power that was completely opposite of his god energy. There's definitely something hidden behind it. Luo Feng felt the pressure of the approaching storm. The stronger I am, the stronger my ability to deal with it. Luo Feng thought, and this time I've challenged the Wu Qi building, especially the third level. I've acquired a large amount of mechanical treasures, true god-level armor and weapons etc. from the other soldiers. I can totally bring a portion of the mechanical treasures to the armory and exchange them for points, using them to exchange for some more suitable for my human race. Just him alone, how many treasures could he need? Especially after he became a true god, he would only have one body. He only needed a few strong treasures. Hence the other mechanical treasures were mostly prepared for the human race. Of course he definitely couldn't just give them out, after all there was no free lunch. Rumble! Luo Feng extended his hand and caressed the Wu Qi Shen. His life imprint was easily imprinted on it. Hua, this completely black monkey-like mechanical treasure instantly merged into Luo Feng's body, causing him to immediately become a human-shaped monkey with a tail. Only his face remained the same as Luo Feng's. So complicated. Luo Feng studied it a little and felt that the engravings on the Wu Qi Shen were extremely complicated, far surpassing the Qin bird and golden claw god etc. This is a true god-level machine, and it's the pinnacle of the true god machines. The luxurious robed man beside said, to unleash its full power, one's comprehension of the techniques has to reach the pinnacle of true god level. Of course, even though you're an origin law lord now, you can still use it because it can be split into 3 different levels. Luo Feng laughed. Right. There were 3 different ways to control it, but just the first was even more complicated than the golden claw god and Qin bird. Much less the third. He would probably have to wait until he became a true god before he could unleash it. Keep your Wu Qi Shen well. The luxurious robed man said, I just don't want a large number of soldiers to know that this titled mission has a huge secret. Hence, I used the Wu Qi Shen as a lure to tempt the origin law lords and true gods. In truth, it's not much of a treasure. Luo Feng didn't argue. Right. To a great godly king, what was a true god-grade machine? Even a true god-level machine. However, he was only an origin law lord. When he was an origin law lord or even a true god, this Wu Qi Shen was his best treasure. Even when he became a void true god, this Wu Qi Shen would still be useful. Since I hope you become a god emperor, naturally I'll give you the training method. The luxurious robed man shook his head. However, I'm good at crafting treasures. Obviously, you're not good at this. As for close combat, I'm not good at that, but I've prepared an inheritance for you. Luo Feng's eyes gleamed. Inheritance? The more the better. Comprehend it yourself. The man in the luxurious royal robe tossed out a crystal that glowed with a black light. In my Jin country, I'm the only god emperor. Hence, the battle inheritance I gave you is slightly weaker. The man in the luxurious royal robe explained, These are the experts under me, as well as the experts I killed, and the many inheritances gathered together. It'll be of some help to you in becoming a god emperor. Luo Feng nodded and touched the inheritance crystal. He was looking forward to it. However, accepting the inheritance required a long time. It was better to study it after leaving the Wu Qi building. I'll give you the inheritance. You'll need time to train and improve. Although the Wu Qi Shen is of great help to you, if you meet a void true god, you'll still be in danger of dying. The luxurious robed man said, In this Jin world, I'll grant you the right to borrow the world energy. World energy? Luo Feng was shocked. You've completed the titled mission and obtained the title. The luxurious robed man said. Your position is the same as the 4 great generals. This is just on the surface. In truth, The 4 great generals know that you're the most important person in the Gene world. You have absolute authority in the Gene world. If anyone dares to offend you, you can use the world energy to deal with them. Luo Feng was delighted. How powerful is the world energy of the Gene world? It can suppress an eternal true god and kill all void true gods. The luxurious robed man said. However, you must not kill as you please. Luo Feng nodded. Understood. The reason why this godly king of Gene was so good to him was because he had obtained the inheritance of the origin alignment art. As for the hope of killing the 3 founding kings of the Devour Nation, this godly king had obviously placed all his hopes on him. After all, the godly king himself had already fallen. Because he had high hopes for Luo Feng, he naturally had to give Luo Feng enough power. At least in the Gene world, he would be able to give Luo Feng enough power. I can borrow the world energy of the Gene world? Luo Feng immediately felt incomparably delighted. This way, won't the life and death of the warriors from the cosmic sea that entered the Gene realm be in my hands with just a thought? Even the God King only told him not to kill as he wished. The meaning was clear: if he really wanted to kill, he could. I've given you everything I can, I've helped you with everything I can. I've already fallen, this is all I can give you. The luxurious robed man said. The rest is up to you. Go, it's time for you to leave this Wu Chi's building. Luo Feng bowed to express his gratitude. No matter what, the other party had helped him a lot. Rumble. A beam of light descended and struck Luo Feng. Luo Feng vanished from the building and reappeared outside. The second chapter was over. I didn't get first place in the May monthly vote. I'll post a chapter after the 4th chapter ends. No matter what, tomato. I'll first thank all the brothers who supported me. Everyone was very supportive. After all, the last few days of the monthly votes were really fast. Tomato continued to write the 3rd chapter. Asterisk, to be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidien.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation. Chapter 1422. They had waited for far too long. Ever since the God Emperor left this building, the 4 leaders' true mission was to find that absolute being. This was even more important than their lives. It disappeared. The titled mission disappeared. The Origin Law Lord's titled mission has already disappeared, he succeeded. That soldier he must have reached the top of the building. The 4 leaders within the palace, they were constantly paying attention. Things like the 4 armies, God Emperor Valley etc., they could all see it at the same time. After Luo Feng entered the 8th level, the 4 of them didn't know what was going on inside. However, since he had stayed there for so long and didn't come out, naturally the 4 of them were filled with anticipation. They all stared at the mission list. The 4 of them practically shouted out at the same time. Shwa! 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 The 4 silhouettes simultaneously vanished from the palace, arriving below the majestic building. Leader! It's the leader, the 4 leaders are all here. This caused some of the true God guards not far away to jump in fright. It was too rare for 4 commanders to come out at the same time. The 4 looked at the entrance of the building. Why isn't he out yet? It's time to come out. The 4 communicated amongst themselves, anxiously waiting. What they didn't know was that the moment Luo Feng passed the 8th level, the mission was automatically cancelled. However, at this time, Luo Feng was still on the 9th level chatting with the God Emperor. After a while, rumble! The majestic main gate suddenly opened, and a soldier walked out from within. He walked out. Since the building has been here for countless years, the surviving soldiers have all been teleported out. None of them have ever walked out from the door. And the other soldiers have all come out long ago. This soldier actually stayed for so long. Has he reached the top? Can't you see the 4 leaders are here to welcome him? He must have succeeded. The true God guards had seen countless batches of soldiers enter. Naturally they knew some inside information. They were naturally shocked. The moment Luo Feng walked out, he was shocked at the four silhouettes before him. A blurry black mist, a tall and sturdy man, a silver-armored woman and a beast. The four stood in a line outside the building, unable to hide their excitement as they looked at him. Luo Feng looked at the four, not knowing what to say. He didn't know any of them. We are the four commanders of the Divine King Valley. Under the orders of His Majesty, the Divine King, we have always protected the Divine King Valley. At the same time, we've been waiting for a peerless existence to ascend to the top of the Tower of Awakening the Crow. The four of us are truly happy that you've succeeded in the Milky Way ascension. Milky Way Palace Master, please come into the palace, the silver-armored woman said. Luo Feng immediately nodded and followed the four leaders towards the silver-gray palace not too far away. When they were conversing earlier, the surrounding True God guards couldn't hear them at all. The burly commander glanced at the surrounding guards. Today's matter is not to be spread. Yes, Commander. The dozen or so guards scattered in the distance all responded respectfully. On the first floor of the silver-gray palace. They are too excited. Luo Feng chatted with the four leaders, simultaneously exclaiming to himself, these four leaders' passion and excitement far exceeded his expectations. Reaching the top of the Awakening the Crow building, we've always been hoping for someone to do it. This matter we've been waiting for countless years, almost like a heavy burden, pressing down on our hearts. The moment we think about it, we feel ashamed to face His Majesty. The black mist had already condensed into a blurry silhouette sitting there. Now that you've succeeded, we can relax too. It's been too long. The silver-armored lady sat there, her eyes brimming with tears. Inhe, wait here for a while. We've just sent the news of you reaching the top of the Awakening the building to the four generals. With their strength, they'll definitely rush here in a short time. The tall and sturdy commander explained. The four generals are like us. Over the years they've been thinking of ways to nurture an absolute genius that can reach the top of the Awakening the building. Knowing that you've succeeded, the four generals will be incomparably excited and happy. They'll definitely want to meet you. Luo Feng nodded and smiled. I've long heard of the four generals' names. I've long wanted to meet you. It's just that I never had the chance before. As a titled warrior, and one that reached the top of the Awakening the Crow building, their positions were equivalent to generals. And this was just on the surface. In terms of actual positions, the four generals and four leaders were even slightly weaker. Luo Feng chatted with the four leaders not long after. Rumble, 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 rumble. Four silhouettes entered the palace and condensed. Luo Feng looked over. The four silhouettes were the warriors of the two tribes and two beasts. All of them had their auras retracted. Even so, the formless energy they gave off still made Luo Feng exclaim within. Inhe, this is the Eastern Army's General Shuiyong. The tall and sturdy commander introduced. Shuiyong should be the kindest of the four. His skin was white, his ears had a green tattoo, looking very noble and graceful. Dressed in silver-white armor, his eyes had a vertical pupil in between his eyebrows. At this time, he was visibly excited, his three eyes gleaming as he looked at Luo Feng. We've waited too long. Only today can we be considered worthy of your majesty. Quickly introduce me. Beside, a six-headed tall beast roared, after which he revealed a smile at Luo Feng. The six ugly and ferocious heads laughed simultaneously. I'm Bei. What's the rush? One by one, Luo Feng finally experienced the passion of the four generals. The four generals and the four leaders, over the endless years, they only had one goal: to help the God Emperor nurture an absolute genius that could reach the top of the awakened black building. This surpassed their own training and their lives. When Luo Feng appeared, they were extremely excited. Inhe, you can take the risk and train, but the world is incomparably vast, and your current strength is still, there might be danger. I'll arrange a few Void True God guards for you to protect you in secret. The four generals were discussing beside him. They practically treated Luo Feng as a rare treasure, afraid of any mishaps. Half a day later, Luo Feng finally left the godly King Valley. The four leaders and four generals are too. Luo Feng let out a sigh of relief. Even when I was returning to the Eastern Army, they had to send me. It's like a parent to a child, and they all listened to my every word. From their conversation, Luo Feng could feel that the four generals and leaders treated him as the godly emperor's successor. Returned to the Eastern Army camp, Luo Feng immediately controlled the silver boat and flew away. The moment the elemental array technique was mastered, the endless serene sea clone, Masha clan clone and the others all stopped spreading their will attacks and regained their consciousness. Hence, the primal chaos city leader, Tru Yen and many others all contacted Luo Feng. Luo Feng explained everything in detail before letting them understand. Of course, Luo Feng didn't dare leak this big secret. Teacher Tru Yen, with the ancient civilization's guidance, has reached the limit of the night. He's just one step away from becoming the Universe Lord. Luo Feng thought, when Teacher becomes the Universe Lord, I'll definitely prepare a huge gift. With the ancient civilization's systematic training guidance, and because Tru Yen was Luo Feng's teacher, he naturally gave him large amounts of resources, hence his training speed was so fast. Among the three teachers, Tru Yen, Primal Chaos and Mountain Passenger, Luo Feng was closest to Tru Yen. Next was Primal Chaos, and then Mountain Passenger. Tru Yen was the one who didn't care for anything in return, completely treating this disciple as family. Primal Chaos was focused on Luo Feng's future for humanity. Mountain Passenger, however, had his own plans and thoughts. Of course, all three were teachers. Luo Feng was filled with gratitude. He would repay them whenever he could. It was just that Mountain Passenger didn't ask for anything. Tru Yen, Big Brother Hong, they're both knights. Second brother Thunder God is still undying. Luo Feng calculated. These few years, humanity has been fighting with the enemy camp. Everything I do is for the race. However, I have to think about my earthling bloodline and my family. Leaving the godly King Valley, heading straight to the Eastern Army camp, the journey was long. Luo Feng was studying the Wu Qi God. The Wu Qi God was split into 3 levels. Even the first level surpassed the Golden Claw God and Chinchilla. Like the 3rd level, it was even stronger than many Void True God level mechanical treasures. Only then could it be considered the king of True God level machines. Using 10,000 times time acceleration, it actually took me half a day to understand the first level of the Wu Qi God. Wearing the Wu Qi God, Luo Feng muttered. Although it was half a day, in reality it was close to 10 years under 10,000 times. Wearing the Wu Qi God, Luo Feng's body was like an armored monkey. His face was still Luo Feng's, just that it was black. A nimble tail even twirled around. Ignite! Ignite! Luo Feng immediately ignited his god body, simultaneously activating the 2nd volume of Annihilation. Immediately the energy exploded to an extremely high level, at the same time swiftly spreading throughout the entire Wu Qi God, swiftly transforming the 16 hubs within the Wu Qi God. Every 4 hubs formed an engraving diagram. The many engraving diagrams converged, forming a virtual hub within the Wu Qi God building. Rumble! The dazzling golden light formed, immediately filling the entire Wu Qi God building. So. Luo Feng, who had left 1,000,000 images in the tomb boat hall, quickly stopped. So powerful! Luo Feng was speechless. With this, the Golden Claw God, Chinchilla etc. can be abandoned with this. Even the strongest in the universe see, even if they're lucky enough to get a mechanical treasure, they still won't be my mat. Luo Feng was filled with absolute confidence, after which he couldn't help but mutter, only this Wu Qi God's God energy consumption is really fast. As he had already maintained the 2nd volume's high-speed combustion and activated the Wu Qi God, the endless amount of God energy was madly consumed, almost like it was being swallowed by a whale. If it was the 100,000 kilometers body from before, it would probably be gone in a blink of an eye. Luckily his body was large enough now, however he didn't dare to recklessly battle for too long. No wonder His Majesty knew my body was huge, and said the consumption was too ridiculous. Luo Feng exclaimed there were gains and losses. Finally, after 3 months, the leisurely flying Luo Feng finally reached the Eastern Army camp. The 3rd chapter was over. Tomato continued writing the 4th chapter. To be continued. If you like this work, please come to Chidian.com to vote for me. Your support is my greatest motivation.